Center. Because that's a racist-ass organization, the NFL. This is what he was saying a couple of years ago. Yeah. Racist-ass organization. It's like a plantation.
That's right, the plant. Yeah, he said
and
that.
I'm sick of the white man taking my jobs behind center. Instead, worst case scenario, you see what I have to offer and you're not that impressed. Best case scenario, you realize you have a real weapon at your disposal in the event you ever need to use it. In either of these scenarios, I would be committed to getting your defense ready week in, week out, all season long, and I would wear that responsibility like a badge of honor. Wow. Somebody's had a bit of an attitude correction. Isn't that interesting? By the way, the interesting piece about this letter.
Yeah.
I mean, in addition to the Colin Kaepernick sing-songy pleading with the Jets to give him a look, his references.
Oh, yeah. What are his references?
Jim Harbaugh.
Okay.
Chip Kelly, because Kelly was the coach of 49ers for a year. John Harbaugh.
Harbaugh's brother.
And Mark Davis, who's, Al's kid, the owner of the Raiders. That's so interesting. Really, Harbaugh would be a character reference. I wonder if those character references would hold up. I'd actually like to know. I'd actually like an NFL team. I don't know, maybe the Bears. Call on Kaepernick's references and see what they have to say about him. But more than anything, I'd like to hear Colin Kaepernick queried about this racist league, this plantation, modern-day plantation, that he's now begging to get back into. By the way, I should say, I'm not the only one who noticed this. Charlemagne the God, that popular radio broadcaster in New York City. He's like, this is what he said. I wish that letter was never written. That letter was tragically sad and downright pathetic. Colin Kaepernick has let his setback become his identity. I hate that for him. It pains me to see the man still begging to be in a league he called racist. And I hate that he can never speak for himself. He's always got somebody else speaking for him or putting out his message for him. That's so whack to me. That's what I was going to say. I wish Colin the best in all his endeavors, but just begging these same people you call racist for an opportunity is pitiful. Isn't it? Isn't it pitiful? And what's even more pitiful, and please memorialize them. Please remember them. Put this on their permanent record. Phil Knight and Nike and all of the others that rally to Colin Kaepernick's defense with that pathetic performance that he put on.
When he was a half hour late, then changed locations.
Well, I'm not talking about practicing. I mean, I'm talking about the flying pig socks. I'm talking about his sort of like pantomiming Marxist rhetoric that his girlfriend apparently taught him. I'm talking about, and then of corporate America coming in to rescue him and make him some sort of phony baloney icon for a fleeting moment. Remember all those people, too, and remember how easy it is to be swayed by these race hustlers. Even somebody he wasn't even positioned to be a race hustler. It's almost like it seems like he got
roped into it by his girlfriend.
Something like that.
I mean, he put Black Lives Matter as his helmet. He took a knee during the national anthem, raised his fist. Hated American football. Now he wants American football.
First Ibram Kendi, now Colin Kaepernick. Which race hustler will fall next?
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Men.
And women.
It's sometimes hard to talk about, but it takes a real toll on your life. Pelvic floor issues. What is that?
Pelvic pain, rectal pain, pain with intimacy, pelvic organ prolapse, painful or loss of bladder or bowel control, overactive or underactive bladder, and constipation.
Good news. Cotorinos Physical Therapy pioneered many of the physical therapy approaches to drastically change the problems you are dealing with without drugs. Strategies to fix the problem. It's time to make the call and have a conversation.
630-620-0232. Don't feel like there's nothing you can do, because there is.
Pelvic floor issues can affect your sleep, your activities, and your life. Cotorinos Physical Therapy has been helping people for over 46 years. It's their specialty.
They simply know more about it. They successfully treat men and women of all ages, and they can help you too. Call and ask about your issues.
Cotarinos Physical Therapy, 630-620-0232. Go to pelvictreatment.com.
PelvicTreatment.com. 3 Chicagoland locations.
Ask any old football player or fan, and they'll tell you offense wins games, but defense wins championships. Sean Thompson here, and you know who else knows that. It's Tom Fortino of Alpha Wealth Group. He knows winning doesn't just happen. It's a result of having a good coach who draws up the right strategy and then makes adjustments along the way. So think of Tom as your retirement defensive coordinator, protecting your retirement savings against inflation, market loss, or a pick six from Uncle Sam. With Tom's complimentary retirement roadmap, you'll find out what's working in your game plan or what's not. If you're serious about winning in retirement, call 630-934-1855. Ask for the retirement roadmap. That's 630-934-1855. Or find Tom online at alphawealthgroup.com and listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour right here on AM 560 The Answer, Saturday mornings at 9 a.m.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, RWA, an SEC registered investment advisor. RWA and Alpha Wealth Group are independent of each other. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, Doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidisciplined practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology, such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930. That's 630-830-4930. Or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 5:38, 3-alarm fire at the Capitol. No, it's just Representative Bowman. 5:38.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here's Mike Scott.
64 degrees, fog developing this morning at 5:31. Authorities in northern Mexico say it was the roof of a church that collapsed during Sunday services, killing 10 and injuring 60. 2 scientists have won the Nobel Prize in Medicine for discoveries that enabled the development of mRNA vaccines against COVID-19. The award given to Katalin Kariko and Drew Wiseman. Egyptian authorities say it was a huge fire that tore through a police headquarters in northeast Egypt. It's injured 38. They say the blaze tore through the multi-story police headquarters this morning in the Suez Canal province of Ismailia. Supreme Court justices taking the bench for the first time since late June today. Former President Trump is expected to be in New York City for his civil fraud trial. Opening statements are set for 9 a.m. our time in the case brought by New York Attorney General Letitia James. President Biden says he's glad a government shutdown was averted, but adds it shouldn't have come down to the wire.
We came to agree on an agreement precisely to avoid a manufactured crisis that we just witnessed.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy also says he's not concerned about Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz's efforts to oust him as Speaker.
At this time, next week, Kevin McCarthy is still Speaker of the House. It will be because the Democrats bailed him out, and he can be their Speaker, not mine.
McCarthy on CBS's Face the Nation says Gaetz has a personal issue. He announced Sunday he has plans to file that motion. One key House Republican is already criticizing the Florida congressman's plans to oust McCarthy as Speaker.
By putting this motion to vacate on the floor, you know what Matt Gaetz is going to do? He's going to delay the ability to complete that work over the next 45 days.
That on ABC's This Week, New York Congressman Mike Lawler. More than 75,000 Kaiser Permanente workers are getting set to go on strike. It will be the biggest healthcare strike in U.S. history. 2 parts of North Carolina's new abortion law are being blocked for now. Federal judge granting injunctions on provisions which kept them from going into effect yesterday. 2 are dead, 2 others are wounded, including a 7-year-old boy following a shooting on Chicago's west side in the first block of South Whipple. The man charged in the killing of Chicago police officer Ella French in 2021 is being offered a plea deal by Cook County prosecutors. Eric Morgan would face only 7 years in prison for pleading guilty to aggravated unlawful use of a weapon. There is a change of plea hearing scheduled for October 12th. And authorities continue to investigate a deadly boat crash in McHenry. The accident happened Saturday when the boat swerved off the Fox River, ran aground, and then slammed into a house in the 600 block of Country Club Drive. The 61-year-old woman from McHenry was pronounced dead at the scene. A 62-year-old man from McHenry was airlifted from the scene and later died. Bears remained winless after blowing a 21-point lead during a 31-28 loss to Denver at Soldier Field. Cubs end their season with a 4-0 loss to the Brewers in Milwaukee, while the White Sox finish their season with a 2-1 11-inning loss to San Diego. The news, a service of the Pride stores with 17 locations throughout Chicagoland. Stop by their newest mobile gas station, the Pride of Villa Park, as they celebrate their grand reopening with daily prizes and a solo stove raffle. Pride stores, not your typical convenience store. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Freedom Summit Chicago tickets are now on sale. Join AM 560, The Answer, on November 11th at the Westin Chicago Northwest for Freedom Summit, featuring Rand Paul, Judge Janine Pirro from Fox News, Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, and many more. Tickets are on sale now at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Lil's Dietary Shop, Blue Star Security, and by Hope Wins 7.
Balance of Nature, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm telling you, I love these. I have so many benefits from this. I should be your testimony on TV because they have done so much for me. It really helped me so much.
I've noticed some improvements over time. I noticed that I used to eat a lot of cookies and snack between meals, and I stopped doing that because I just don't feel a desire to do that. My energy lasts longer, I have more endurance, and a number of things I'm happy with.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Identity theft shows no signs of slowing down. In fact, more than $29 billion were stolen last year alone. That's a criminal success story and a wake-up call for everyone else. It can be dangerously easy to steal your identity. LifeLock makes it easy to help protect yourself if you become a victim. A dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will work to fix it. Join now and save up to 25% your first year with my name, Clay, as your promo code at LifeLock.com, promo code Clay.
At SimpliSafe, we've designed award-winning home security with advanced sensors, HD cameras, and now this, 24/7 LifeGuard protection, only from SimpliSafe. Now, monitoring agents can see and speak to intruders through our new indoor camera to help stop crime in real time and for fast police response. Get 20% off any new system with Fast Protect monitoring at simplisafe.com/radio. Advanced home security, 24/7 professional monitoring for less than $1 a day. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
Exergen thermometers are a top choice of medical professionals at highly ranked hospitals across the U.S. Accuracy matters, so make Exergen the chosen thermometer for your home and family.
5:38, an update on the roads in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Inbound Eden, 16 minutes, Lake Cook Road to the junction. Kennedy inbound 25, O'Hare to the Burns Circle interchange. Inbound Dan Ryan, 16 minutes, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. 57 and the Bishop Ford jamming up already into the Ryan merge. Niles, an accident. Harlem and Oakton. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Sunshine, high of 85 today, cooler lakeside. 64 at O'Hare, next news at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. One of the newly minted Socialist Spice Girls, honorary member like Sean Casten, is a guy named Jamal Bowman. We've brought him to you before because, well, you'll hear in a second. But this guy pulled the fire alarm in the Capitol to delay a vote on a continuing resolution that House Republicans were moving for a vote. Wanted to delay it, so he pulled a fire alarm and was caught on video pulling the fire alarm because this just in. A lot of cameras inside the Capitol building.
Yeah, you think he temporarily forgot about that when he did it?
And he issued this statement saying,
Yeah, this is a great
I
plausible deniability.
I want to clear up the confusion surrounding today's events. Today, as I was rushing to make a vote, I came to a door that is usually open for votes, but today would not open. I'm embarrassed to admit that I activated the fire alarm, mistakenly thinking it would open the door. I regret this, sincerely apologize for any confusion it's caused. I was not trying to delay a vote. It was the exact opposite. I was urgently trying to get to a vote, which I ultimately did to join blah, 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 bipartisan to do great things.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line 64636, type in DA. And then a quick comment. That's cute and all, but he used to be the principal at Cornerstone Academy for Social Action.
So he's been through a fire drill before.
No, but according to their school's code, he should be suspended for 10 days or possibly expelled, excuse me, because that's what...
Well, he's not a student.
No, he's not, but when he was in charge, those were the rules that he had to follow, so he knows the significance of actually pulling a fire alarm. Shame on him.
Like, we have to really make this argument. It's
right.
You knew or should have known. Also, the more apt comparison that a lot of people have been making is obstructing an official proceeding. That's an insurrection in that town, isn't it? Is that an insurrection? He should be
treated the same way the January 6th insurrectionists.
He should be detained pending trial. He should be obviously arrested, charged, detained pending trial, and get many years in prison. Isn't that the protocol for obstructing an official proceeding and potentially ending our democracy? Isn't that what he did?
It's exactly what he did.
The memes are great, of course,
the memes
and there's a lot of J6. I mean, we're calling this S30.
What?
September 30. They got their Jan 6. We got our S30. And when people say, "Well, this trivializes." Oh, come on, this trivialized January 6th. There was violence and so on and so forth. Yeah, of course, it trivializes it. That's sort of the point, not to trivialize it, but to highlight the absurdity of it. It just as saying this was an insurrection or that Jamal Bowman should go to prison over this. Well, how is that more absurd than saying somebody who was escorted into the Capitol and committed no violence but did commit criminal trespass should be held over for trial, should be imprisoned, should be treated as an enemy of the state, as an insurrectionist, as part of this conspiracy to overthrow the government. So I suppose one ridiculous story or ridiculous reaction to an actual story deserves another. That would be a ridiculous reaction to this story, and so people are having fun with it, as is their constitutional right.
Rep Bowman would be expelled. Well, he would expel teenagers from his school if they pulled the fire alarm. It's only fitting that he be expelled from Congress from doing so.
It'd be a good start. Just to give you a little bit of backstory on this guy who has been one of these, show pony since he got to Congress, trying to out-socialist his socialist colleagues, making a big spectacle of himself when he takes to, the typical street-level press conference outside the Capitol, like when he rallied to protect TikTok from those Republicans who had banned it on devices.
Robert, I just realized something. Republicans ain't got no swag. That's why they want to ban TikTok. Republicans ain't got no swag. That's the problem. And I mention that in the context of engaging young people in the democratic process.
Yeah. They ain't got no swag, like pulling a fire alarm. Yeah, ain't got no swag. And then
Speak proper English. Were they trying to be hip and cool?
He's very street. And then
He's very street.
And then you come up with this. They of course they have pictures of the. I mean, like this really requires a lot of evidence. They have pictures of the doors, like you see in every emergency exit door and every fire alarm with big signs and blaring. But it doesn't matter. The more remember, his statement is another example of this. The more ridiculous, the better. The purpose is not to persuade; it is to humiliate. It is to humiliate you, the viewer, the listener, the American, to humiliate you. You are less than. You are beneath them. They can say and do the most ridiculous things, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's what these new Marxist apparatchiks do, because they've learned from the old Marxist apparatchiks. To humiliate you into silence and acceptance. Another Jamal Bowman classic? I mean, there's only a couple. He hasn't been there that long.
What do you have?
But this was from the spring. We played this and we talked about it. This was when he was screaming in the halls at the Capitol about banning guns. And then ultimately, at some point, when he's before he goes full Buddhist monk, Tom Massey saunters by, the Republican from Kentucky, and they get into it.
Children at all, cowards, pressure them, force them to respond to the question, why the hell won't you do anything to save America's children? And let them explain that all the way up until Election Day of 2024. Let them explain it all the way up to Election Day of 2024. They're freaking cowards. They're gutless. They're not here. I'm talking about gun violence.
There's never been
I'm talking about gun violence.
in a school that allows teachers to carry.
Carry guns? More guns lead to more death. More guns lead to more death. Look at the data. You're not looking at any data. You're carrying the water for the gun lobby. Look at the data. More guns lead to more deaths. States that have open carry laws have more death. States that have open carry laws have more death. Are you listening to what I'm saying? Calm down, children are dying.
And it just goes on from there because he's a hysterical child. And he just has to continue screaming his bullet point over any conversation that Thomas Massey might attempt to have with him to make a spectacle of himself, because that's what these people do.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro. Answer line 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
One other thing, though, too, and I'm serious about this. House Republicans will be remiss if they do not push for his arrest and prosecution.
They better.
He knowingly did this. It was to delay the CR. The motivation is not even material, maybe in the trial, in a forthcoming trial. But he knowingly did this. He knew what he was doing. He knew that it was wrong, and he did it anyway. That's enough for an arrest. And then he can try to make his argument before a judge or a jury as to this. I thought it would the fire alarm would do this, and it did that kind of business. But he absolutely should be charged. And
no question.
And Republicans should beat that drum until he is. Mac in Goodyear, Arizona.
Good morning. And Dan, it's not just knowingly. It's important in the criminal justice system. It was knowingly and without care. That's very important for an arrest. But the reason I called was to point out to your listeners after he knowingly and without care did that, it shut down that building for over an hour. And there were hundreds of emergency personnel that responded, hundreds at least.
Of course, it's a Capitol, right? Of course.
Yes. He could have at any moment walked up to any first-year patrol officer or fireman and said, here's who I am. I accidentally pulled that, thinking it opened a door, but he knowingly chose not to.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point.
Yep.
Thanks
Yep,
for the
he
call,
could
Matt.
have
I mean, that's right. He could have stopped it. Wait, you know the emergency response you're getting at. Well, this is why it's criminal.
People are scrambling to get out of the building, too. I mean, my God.
Because you generated an emergency
Idiot.
response, especially at the Capitol. So, I mean, yeah. But the fact, you're right. I mean, that's a good additional point. The fact that he didn't, knowing the response and then the frenzy it creates, say, hey, call it in. Right, here's who I am. I made a mistake. It's a false alarm. Call him off. But he didn't do that. He was too busy preparing his statement. Tom and Oswego.
Hey, good morning, Dave and Amy. My feeling on this is, like a lot of politicians, he's either a straight-out liar or he's too stupid to be in the position he's in, making decisions for millions of people.
I don't think there is. Too stupid is not a disqualifier to be a member of Congress, as you well know. Yeah, thanks for the call, Tom. Huh? What do you think on Jamal Bowman? I think he's earned his stripes as a member of the Socialist Spice Girls.
Dan and Amy, it's like yelling fire in a movie theater. It's illegal.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah. Yes, he should be charged, and they should hold Capitol Police to account for this. There's no question about it. And if they don't, then they will deserve the disgust that I think a lot of rank-and-file Republicans will throw their way. I mean, again, particularly with the J6 precedent that the other side set. To some extent, I know we don't want to become them. We could be them. They couldn't be us. We should guard that difference jealously. I know that. But to some extent, when they have set a precedent and you have an instance where it's a clear violation of the law, then you have to demand, you either have to exercise the power you have, or in this case, demand those who do exercise the power they have. Capitol Police, arrest that man.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
When your home or business has an insurance claim, the next step is very important. The claim process with insurance can be tedious, hard to understand, and difficult to navigate. You need someone working for you. You need a licensed claim adjuster. Why? The insurance company will send out their inspectors that work for them, get paid by them, and represent them, not you.
This is Dan Lights from Crosscom. We inspect your property, file your claim, negotiate the damages, and maximize your settlement with your insurance company. If we complete the repairs approved by your insurance company, our service is free. Crosscom Public Adjusters has turned denied claims into approved claims. We've also increased insurance claims anywhere from 23 to 1,000%. We are licensed by the Department of Insurance and work in Illinois, Northwest Indiana, and Southern Wisconsin. Crosscom Public Adjusters, 630-871-5500. Online at crosscominc.com. That's crosscominc.com. Crosscom, building trust for over 20 years.
TV news. It's a love-hate relationship. Well, let's be honest, more hate. We agree. That's why we're different. Salem News Channel has assembled the greatest collection of conservative minds all in one place. Home to Charlie Kirk, Hugh Hewitt, Eric Metaxas, and more. There's finally a place on TV for lovers of freedom like you. Watch anytime, on any screen, free 24/7. Find what you're looking for at snc.tv. That's snc.tv.
At Signature Bank, going the distance for business banking customers is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, a plan for growth, and don't have time to wait for a bank to respond. With Signature Bank, you not only have a banking partner that has roots right here in Chicago, but our decisions are made locally too. Signature Bank knows that when you have a question or problem about your business, you want answers. You need someone who will pick up the phone or respond to your text. You need someone who is always there for you. That's Signature Bank. We are a team that wants to get to know you and your business. Want to be Signature Bank's next success story? Give us a call today at 773-467-5630 or visit us online at signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Identity theft shows no signs of slowing down. In fact, more than $29 billion were stolen last year alone. That's a criminal success story and a wake-up call for everyone else. It can be dangerously easy to steal your identity. LifeLock makes it easy to help protect yourself if you become a victim. A dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will work to fix it. Join now and save up to 25% your first year with my name, Clay, as your promo code at LifeLock.com, promo code Clay.
At SimpliSafe, we've designed award-winning home security with advanced sensors, HD cameras, and now this, 24/7 LifeGuard protection, only from SimpliSafe. Now, monitoring agents can see and speak to intruders through our new indoor camera to help stop crime in real time and for fast police response. Get 20% off any new system with Fast Protect monitoring at simplisafe.com/radio. Advanced home security, 24/7 professional monitoring for less than $1 a day. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
47 million Americans have no or unscorable credit and would benefit from a Team Hochberg Fresh Start Secured Visa Card. A Team Hochberg Fresh Start Secured Visa Card is perfect if your ex-spouse destroyed your credit, you recently filed for or were discharged from a bankruptcy, experienced a foreclosure or short sale, have a number of collections, or if you or one of your kids recently applied for and were denied credit. Team Hochberg is partnered with Kane County Teachers Credit Union to create a Team Hochberg Fresh Start Secured Visa Credit Card to reestablish, enhance, and strengthen listeners with no damaged or challenged credit. For information about Team Hochberg's Fresh Start Secured Visa Credit Card with no annual fee, go to 56david.com/fresh start. That's 56david.com/fresh start. Team Hochberg's helped thousands of radio listeners enhance their credit, but we can't help if you don't visit 56david.com/fresh start. Lower.com, equal housing lender, NLS 1124061.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Give you a little preview of our 6 o'clock discussion because it's going to be wide-ranging on the border, lawlessness at the border, and its impact on communities like Chicagoland.
Yeah, not just the city. Tents are coming to the burbs.
We'll talk about that at 6:06. But here was some testimony, if you will. It was a press conference. Senator Katie Boyd Britt, she's a Republican from Alabama, and what she witnessed at the border when she went down there with Ted Cruz and Marsha Blackburn and other Republican senators, what she saw, the conversation she had. Take a listen.
We walked through and we got to hear women tell us their story, and their stories are brutalizing. And to Senator Cruz's point, if you're not telling it, that's on you. Because when a woman sits there and she tells you not just about being raped, but how many times a day she's raped, when she tells you about having to lay in that bed while they come in and out and in and out, it's disgusting and it's despicable. Folks, you look at the number of people that have died at the border because Joe Biden has made it more and more enticing to come here. Make no mistake, this is a result of failed policies. We could fix this. We can't throw money at this and fix it. We have to actually change the policies. I looked in the eyes of CBP agents who said we're exhausted. We're not only having to be paper pushers, we're also trying to do what we took an oath of office to do, and that is protect this border. But when they tell you about finding small children who have drowned in that river, or pulling a lifeless body of a woman who is pregnant with twins, it changes the way you think about what's happening. Drug cartels, guys, they have their tentacles all over this country. We need you to start telling that story. To Senator Cruz's point, they will tell you exactly how much they paid to get here. Then they'll tell you where they're going, what their job's going to be, and how much more they owe. Got it? And guess what? Just the other day in Alabama, a gentleman told me, if you will come back here with me in this neighborhood right behind you, you will see migrants who are here illegally, and they will tell you about the drug cartels coming around every other week to collect. Guys, that's not the American dream. That's an American nightmare.
And the nightmare is going to grow scarier in the near term, including in Chicagoland. We'll have that at 6:06.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
2 killed, 2 wounded in a West Side shooting. A couple killed in a McHenry boat crash. And 3 wounded in a shooting at an East Chicago car show. Bears suffer another loss to the Broncos. Cubs miss out on the postseason. WIND Chicago News Time. It's 6 o'clock.
They helped us battle COVID. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, and that has won 2 scientists a Nobel Prize for their work developing a COVID vaccine that was controversial to some who refused to take it.
mRNA vaccine technology was considered experimental before the COVID-19 pandemic. It became the foundation for some of the most effective vaccines given to millions around the world. American Dr. Drew Weissman and Hungarian-American colleague Dr. Katalin Karikó will share the Nobel Prize in Medicine for their work at the University of Pennsylvania.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. California will get a new senator to replace the late Dianne Feinstein. And just like Governor Gavin Newsom pledged, he's appointing a black woman.
The governor announcing on Sunday night that he's appointing LaFonza Butler to the Senate seat held by Dianne Feinstein for 3 decades. Butler is the head of Emily's List, a group that works to get pro-abortion female Democrats elected to office. She'll be the state's second black female senator following Vice President Kamala Harris.
That's Fox's Ted Linder. Feinstein died last week at age 90. Her funeral will be Thursday after she lies in state at San Francisco City Hall. In Congress, some House Republicans led by Congressman Matt Gaetz want to oust Speaker Kevin McCarthy, a fellow Republican, for working with Democrats to pass a short-term budget Saturday to avert a government shutdown Sunday. McCarthy tells CBS Face the Nation.
Yes, I'll survive. You know, this is personal with Matt.
Former President Trump goes to court today in New York City for a civil trial. Here's Fox's Ryan Schmelz.
Former President Trump and the Trump Organization are accused of committing fraud when President Trump was growing his real estate company. He's accused of misleading banks and insurers while also exaggerating his net worth on paperwork when making deals.
Ahead of the trial, the judge already ruled the former president and his company committed fraud. A Trump social media post called on the judge to resign, saying that ruling was an abuse of power and this is election interference, similar to what he says about his 4 criminal indictments. America's listening to Fox News.
Fog developing in the area, 64 degrees at 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. 2 are dead, 2 others wounded, including a 7-year-old boy. It follows the shooting on Chicago's West Side yesterday in a vacant lot. All 4 victims were sent to the hospital. Again, 2 of the men died. The child suffered a graze wound to the head. The man charged in the killing of Chicago police officer Ella French in 2021 is being offered a plea deal by Cook County prosecutors. Eric Morgan would face 7 years in prison for pleading guilty to aggravated unlawful use of a weapon. His brother and Morgan have been held without bail since being charged. Authorities continue investigating a deadly boat crash in McHenry. The accident happened Saturday. A 61-year-old woman from McHenry was pronounced dead at the scene. A 62-year-old man from McHenry was airlifted to a nearby hospital and later died. Bears remain winless after blowing a 21-point lead in a 31-28 loss to Denver at Soldier Field. Bears running back Khalil Herbert says the team's got to find a way to finish.
You know, we practiced a lot this week on being very sound and very detail oriented. So, you know, we just gotta find a way to finish there.
Bears visit the Commanders on Thursday. Leaders in Chicago's Pilsen community will hold a meeting tonight, sharing details of a new temporary migrant shelter set to open there. The meeting begins at Benito Juarez High School at 6. Chicago has received more than 16,500 new illegal immigrant arrivals. A day after being eliminated from the postseason, Cubs end their season with a 4-0 loss to the Brew Crew in Milwaukee. White Sox finished their season with a 2-1 11-inning loss to San Diego, and the Blackhawks were smoked by the Red Wings in the NHL preseason 6-1. The news service of Dan and Amy 24/7, around the clock, all day, every day. Listen now, Dan and Amy 247.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Freedom Summit Chicago tickets are now on sale. Join AM 560, The Answer, on November 11th at the Westin Chicago Northwest for Freedom Summit, featuring Rand Paul, Judge Janine Pirro from Fox News, Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, and many more. Tickets are on sale now at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by St. John's Lutheran School in Lombard. Tom Mirabali, independent insurance agent with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois. And by overheaddoorchicago.com.
All right, Christmas will be here before we know it. If you're looking for a really special gift, I encourage you to check out the firearms made right here in America by our great friends at Henry Repeating Arms. Now, you start by going to their website, henryusa.com. Order their free holiday gift guide, and they'll mail it with free decals that you can use for stocking stuffers. Perfect timing. Folks, when you give someone a Henry, you're giving them a work of art that is built with the finest craftsmanship I've ever seen as a collector. Now, their performance is top-notch. Mine were accurate, all of them, right out of the box. They shoot smooth and straight, and they have been reliable ever since. They have over 200 models of rifles and shotguns and revolvers to choose from. One of the things I like the most about these firearms, they're family heirlooms. They'll always be backed by the company's lifetime warranty. So if you want to put something that's made in America under the tree this Christmas, henryusa.com. Get their free gift guide and their decals today. That's henryusa.com. You will love this company.
Balance of Nature, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm telling you, I love these. I have so many benefits from this. I should be your testimony on TV because they have done so much for me. It really helped me so much.
I've noticed some improvements over time. I noticed that I used to eat a lot of cookies and snack between meals, and I've stopped doing that because I just don't feel a desire to do that. My energy lasts longer. I have more endurance, and a number of things I'm happy with.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
6:07 and a check on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is the service of MyPillow, and the 6-pack bath towel sets are back in stock. Proprietary technology makes them extremely absorbent, yet you still get that soft feel you look for in a towel. 50% savings with promo code LIBERTY. Inbound Kennedy 36 right now from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Traveling on the outbound side back out to the big airport in 28. Eichen 32 390 to the old post office. Stevenson 30 minutes 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan in 13 minutes 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. 8094 little trouble eastbound at Broadway. The exit and entrance ramps there are closed for a few more weeks until October 20th. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Andy Robb.
Bright sunshine for today, high 85. Tonight, clear, low 63. Tuesday, mostly sunny, a high 86. And on Wednesday, clouds and sunshine with a high 83. I'm Andy Robb on AM 560, The Answer.
64 at O'Hare. Next news, 6:30. Breaking news as it happens. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Health Quest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba. Saturday mornings at 11. Visit healthquestradio.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. New York State Governor Kathy Hochul was on Face the Nation over the weekend, discussing in part the migrant crisis in New York City. And this is really fun to listen to. She, in one breath, blames House Republicans for what's happening in New York City while adopting their position. Take a listen.
Well, shame on Speaker McCarthy and the Republicans in Congress, including the 9 from New York State who are complaining like crazy about the migrants, but refuse to work with President Biden and come up with a sensible border strategy. It can be done. This can be done in a bipartisan way, comprehensive immigration reform, where
What
there's
specifically
quotas,
do you
certain
want?
numbers of people can come in. Well, we want them to have a limit on who can come across the border. It is too open right now. People coming from all over the world are finding their way through, simply saying they need asylum, and the majority of them seem to be ending up in the streets of New York, and that is a real problem for New York City.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line.
Honey, you reap what you sow. I mean, she supported this. They're sanctuary state, don't you know? She could start by saying, you know, who's going to be the bigger person here, and just finally come forward and say, look, the policy Biden has in place right now is wrong. This is not a sustainable system, and we have to send a message to people that are thinking about coming or already on their way that we are not open. You cannot come here. Why not? My God, if I lived there, I would love to have this. 3 meals a day, the finest of, I mean,
Okay,
come on.
you're-
And I know
yeah.
they went through a lot to get here, but sorry, so sad, too bad. We can't support this.
It's Republicans' fault, and they need to do something. They need to work in a bipartisan fashion with Biden to do something he could do tomorrow, which is their position. She just limit the number of people coming into this country. I know that's what House Republicans want to do. So we're not waiting for House Republicans on this. Just in terms of, I know this is basic. It's rudimentary. But this, what you heard from a goof like Hochul, is what you're hearing from the knobs in your community who affiliate with these Marxists, these new Marxists. Oh, it's bipartisan, comprehensive immigration. We need to limit the number of people coming into this country. Kathy Hochul, New York State Governor, card-carrying Dem socialist. Okay, sold. So I guess we need the executive to weigh in on this. So now that we're in agreement, we have bipartisan agreement because I agree with Kathy Hochul. And so does every other House Republican.
Now what do we do?
What's the missing piece in the execution of this agreement we've just forged? Golly. Back here at home, as we talked a little bit about on Friday, Jelly Belly wants you in the suburbs to pitch in, and we said this a couple weeks ago. I'd be in communication with my municipal officials and county officials if I was in the suburbs, because there is going to be outreach and distribution, or at least there's going to be the attempt. The BLM Brandon, Chicago can't go on welcoming new arrivals safely without significant support. And that's where Jelly Belly comes in. He's asking communities outside Chicago to take in some of the continuing influx of non-citizen migrants, as they're called, or people in this country illegally. Communities outside of Chicago, underline, bold, circle, asking. The governor's asking. Gosh, how could he ask? Just, Mother, may I? Or maybe, if you do this, I will do that. He's going to try to buy off support. Or, and he'll even need to do it with Democrats, but you start with all these Democrat mayors and county board members and county executives that you have all over the state. And who's ever most insulated politically, Tony Breckwinkle, Cook County. Start with them. But it won't be limited to them. I mean, the suburbs have all been lost to the Democrats, too. Certainly at the county level, to a large extent at the local level, too. One begets the other. So I'm just saying, you think that you're just watching this from afar. I mean, how many times do you have to go through this? I'm just a spectator. Everything's fine in DuPage County. I've so told myself for the last 20 or 30 years until now it's not. And then all of a sudden, cashless bail is not just a Cook County thing. Then all of a sudden, Sanctuary City County is not just a Chicago and Cook County thing. Well, here you are again. 10 cities don't believe that they'll just be a Chicago and Cook County thing. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line.
I mean, according to Garda World, who they signed the contract with, it's going to be in Lake County, Will County, McHenry County, and DuPage County.
They got a handle.
They know something you don't, residents.
And they got a real handle on it in Chicago. Listen to this exchange between 29th Ward Alderman Chris Taliaferro and Beatriz Ponce de Leon, the deputy mayor on immigrants. Listen to this exchange.
Everywhere.
We have an entire city that's in outrage about how we're handling it. So that should tell you that we're handling something wrong or that we could be handling it better.
Yep.
And that's all I'm asking. And I asked, when was the last time you and I talked?
We haven't.
Thank you.
So I appreciate you.
Now that's on me and it's on you.
Yeah, it is.
But we're bringing migrants
Throw
to
you
the
both
29th Ward next week probably. And you and I have never talked. I found out this morning. I found out this morning on my way here, and you and I have never talked. That's the problem I'm talking about. That's lack of communication, that's lack of collaboration, and it goes on to my constituents by finding out all of a sudden and without having a voice or say in how we handle this. You and I have never talked.
I hear that, and I just want to recognize that in the 3 months that I've been in this role, I have seen the number of briefings increase. So we briefed this working group. We also have held separate briefings with smaller groups of aldermen, older people. We have attempted to brief the General Assembly. You know, we're bringing information more regularly. We know that we can do better and we should engage. I just have to bring us back to, we don't control the number of buses that are arriving, and we have a very limited staff.
Yeah, it's a sad story.
Blah,
Sad
blah,
story.
blah.
But this is what you're gonna hear a lot of local officials when this expands out into the suburbs. Like, nobody told me anything. Yeah, welcome to the party. Right. You're not going to be told anything. This is being made. These decisions are being made at a higher level. You're a speed bump. Most of you. Most of these local officials are. Certainly the electorate is a speed bump. So we'll do a couple of public hearings there and there so you can spout off and blow off some steam. But this train has left the station. This is what's going to happen. And we heard from a mutual friend over the weekend that in the city proper, they're looking at Northerly Island.
Yeah, to put a huge tent city up in Northerly Island. Well, these aldermen have to come up with 1 to 2 suggested locations. I also heard.
I hope that doesn't interrupt the Gin Blossoms concert.
It's going to. The concert series is going to be going. And Northerly Island, Northerly Island. In the wintertime is lovely. I mean, the breeze off the lake is going to be wonderful. I mean, all of our public spaces, our indoor spaces, our park districts, they're slowly getting swallowed up.
You know, here's the thing about this.
And then that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about this.
Yes, please, Tom.
Does anybody see an opportunity for people to make a stand here? For a party that has no definition and no seeming point to make a stand here? What the Republican Party should be doing in this state, Illinois I'm talking about, is getting in communication with all of the mayors and county board members and county executives and county sheriffs that affiliate with the party, and maybe even some Democrats who have any sense. That'll be a much shorter list. And pass a resolution saying, we know this is coming. No, it's not. Make this, a central issue, a defining issue. As you see Democrats infighting, as per the exchange you just heard between the alderhuman and the deputy mayor human. Make this an issue. Here, I've got a draft.
Okay, I want to hear this.
Working draft resolution here. So you can, people can adopt this and make this their own. All right.
Okay, I'm ready.
Here's the resolution.
Do you need some? Wait, do you need some time, sir?
No. Seriously, why are communities not already doing this? Press the issue. Otherwise, you're going to be in the same position as Chicago residents. Is that the position you want to be in? All right, here's my resolution.
All right, pay attention, people.
Whereas we believe in the rule of law, including immigration law, and whereas refusing to enforce immigration law jeopardizes the safety of and imposes financial burdens on our residents, and further is unfair to those seeking legal entry into the country, and whereas refusing to enforce immigration law is empowering drug cartels and victimizing women and children, many of whom have been exploited or killed while journeying to America, and whereas the federal government admitted it does not know the location or in whose care, if anyone's, are some 85,000 unaccompanied minors granted entrance into America. And whereas the federal government admitted it does not know the location of several individuals on its terrorist watch list granted entrance into America. And whereas many of the migrants who've been allowed to enter America have not filed asylum applications and therefore have no moral right to be here. And whereas persons seeking entrance into America are not American citizens or legal residents and therefore are not entitled to the same benefits. And whereas our state, city, town has limited taxpayer resources we are obligated to use in service of those individuals, our lawful constituents. Be it therefore resolved, we will not accept or nor provide taxpayer-funded services to migrants, and we shall return any individual sent our way by elected officials from sanctuary states, sanctuary states or cities, to them so that they may live their values just as we live ours, the difference being ours are consistent with the rule of law.
The end.
The end. Simple. I'll post it so you can cut and paste it and improve on it and get it over to your village and county officials, village, township, county officials. No, sir, we're not providing services. The taxpayer-funded governments provide taxpayer-funded services to lawful constituents. Is that revolutionary? Jim in LaGrange on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hi, Dan and Amy. Good morning. How the mighty have fallen, right? From Chicago being the hub and epicenter of the economic world and having Meigs Field turning into Northerly Island, turning into Tent City.
Yeah.
You could just see it tangibly disintegrate in front of your eyes. Thank you, Mayor Daley. We appreciate that.
Yeah, nice continuum there, right. Meigs to Northerly to Tent City. That's about the size of it. Tina, Joliet.
Hi, good morning, guys. So Joliet is the proud winner of the second largest Pritzker.
Tina, you broke up.
The second largest what?
Second largest grant to house migrants. We just got $8.6 million. We're being told the mayor's office knew nothing about it, and the Joliet Council knew nothing about it. As it turns out, Angel Contreras, who's the Joliet Township Supervisor, took it upon himself to apply for this grant, allegedly. Just last week, I FOIA'd 3 different Joliet departments and the Will County Sheriff's Department. They all denied any knowledge of migrants coming and sent me back my FOIA request saying we had 0 information, your FOIA is denied. And
nobody knows anything, right?
Nobody knows anything. So, but what we're finding out is that we're not getting tents. They're actually buying property. They're going to buy permanent buildings to house the illegal immigrants that they're shipping into Joliet. $8.6 million, second to Cook County. And if you try to call Angel Contreras' office this morning, you won't reach him because he's on trial for his 3rd DUI. So you might want to wait till tomorrow to ring his phone off the hook. Yeah, that's this is shameful. Late Friday afternoon, this broke. We all knew it was coming. We all recognize that they're going to try and ship this all over the state of Illinois.
And so what's the mayor saying? Mayor of Joliet.
The mayor saying he had no knowledge.
Well, what's he going to do about it?
I think we're going to fight it. We're all going to fight it. October 10th is the Joliet Township meeting. I'm afraid the train has left the station, but this smells to high heaven. They're all liars. They lie from the minute they wake up to the minute they go to bed.
Thanks for the call, Tina. Appreciate that. Well, there you go. There's the real world example. Tina's on the job in Joliet, but this is what we're talking about. That's how you get these communities, township level or municipal level, to buy in. Number one, they're fellow travelers. Number two, you give them cash. And then number three, they get to buy a property that becomes part of their fiefdom.
That's great.
It's great for everybody except the constituents. But again, this is what you wanted.
Yep. Oh, it's going to be so bad around here.
Corey in Woodlawn.
Good morning, guys. So the young lady that was just talking about the immigrants, she told us in Woodlawn that some of the immigrants are coming over and they're not even getting asylum dates. And then I looked up my alderman on the city clerk's website because she told us she knew nothing about it to see what legislation she was putting her name on. And she's the vice chair of the immigration committee, so she already knew. This is crazy.
It's just so.
Thanks for the call, Corey. What did Tina from Joliet just say? They lie from the moment they get up to the moment they go to bed. That's what they do all day long. Yeah, no, Corey, I don't know anything about that. Let me have the alderhuman look into that. Oh, it turns out she's second in command on that committee behind all of this. So then you do know something about it, or it's classic. George in Naperville.
Yeah, how are they going to handle the influx of trick-or-treaters?
Oh, my God.
Great question. It's a very practical question.
It's true.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they go out and get free candy? I mean, the kids want it. Why not?
I think more Snickers bars and Kit Kats was part of that $8.6 million grant that the township of Joliet got. So I think that'll be distributed. So rest assured, there'll be enough candy for the migrants come this Halloween. Great question. Thanks for that, George. Rich in Indian Head Park.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. Dan, what you just said makes so much sense that I can't see why people can't see it. But politicians don't have any common sense. The only thing that has to be done is that Joe Biden has to close the borders, and all of this probably will go away.
Well, thanks for the call, Rich. Right. And so then, as the question that we've addressed many a time, it's that simple. You have Democrat governors like Kathy Hochul saying the same while blaming Republicans, of course. So why don't they do it? Why isn't anybody done?
They don't want to break ranks with their fellow Democrats. I don't know.
Well, break ranks. I'm talking about why doesn't anybody, meaning like why didn't Joe Biden do it? Why haven't we had, even when there's been Republicans control, why haven't we had fixes to some of these basic problems like what we used to talk about, the deportation of people who are violent criminals, who are illegally here in this country and have been several times. You commit a violent offense, you're gone and you're never coming back. But we could never do that, Republicans or Democrats. Why can't we accomplish things that everybody says they're supportive of? Because some people are lying, and because there are other agendas afoot, of course, than the rule of law and your particular security and financial interests, you silly Americans, silly residents of Joliet, silly residents of Chicago. I mean, let's process this a little bit, huh? And then help others process it, because there are a lot of people who don't seem very good at processing. Neil in LaGrange.
Hey, good morning. If the $8.6 million went to somebody in the township, then that must be somewhere unincorporated. So the mayor of Joliet really has nothing to say about it. Now this goes back on to the county level.
Well, that's true.
That makes sense.
That's true, except to the extent, it's a little bit more complicated than that, because that's not how government actually works. There are turf battles, and there's collaboration between municipal and township, and there's so So there, that relationship is something that you normally want, especially when you're the smaller unit of government, the township.
Right, because I live in a little pocket of unincorporated Cook County.
Okay.
And the other thing, too, though, is that if they're going to be buying property, whose property are they buying?
Right.
At $8.6 million.
Right.
That would be the other thing,
Right. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thanks for the call, Neil. Yeah. Whose property? Right. Or, who's providing rental? I mean, this is, of course. I mean, the connected developers and slumlords. Yeah. I mean, there's going to be a lot of slumlords that are taking a nice look at this. This is their, could be their new Cabrini Green.
Oh, yeah. Then we're going to have to come up with a name.
Right. And then we'll have to go visit those slumlords in Highland Park where they live. Mike in Littleton, Colorado.
Good morning, and thank you for taking my call. It just dawns on me, the term gets thrown around, how can people be so stupid and this and that? And it dawns on me that, to avoid what is common sense, right? That we have secure borders and we ask for identification, et cetera, makes perfect sense. Why do people avoid that? And I think when these politicians who are just the result of the electorate, they don't really believe in anything other than their own lack of virtuosity or lack of virtue. They look at their own electorate and say, I can get away with what I'm getting away with because you're as criminal or more so, and more so corrupt than I am. And that's the real problem, right?
Product of the community. The politicians are products of the community. Right. Thanks for the call, Mike.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 6:36, I'm going to be joined by our old friend, Jessica Hockett, a.k.a. Emma Woodhouse. We've got some things on COVID to catch up with, including, by the way, you may want to take note of this list. Some 80 colleges still have vaccine mandates in place for your kid to attend there in person. That's at 6:36.
And to live in dorms, yes. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
64 degrees at 6:31. Investigators this morning are trying to figure out why 3 nightclubs were engulfed by fire in Spain over the weekend, killing 13.
The fire broke out in the early hours of Sunday at La Fonda nightclub in Murcia, in Spain. It then spread to 2 neighbouring venues. Among the dead are several members of the same family out celebrating a birthday. With around a dozen people still unaccounted for, we're warned to expect the number of dead to increase. It's still not clear what caused the fire to start. One challenge for rescuers and investigators is that La Fonda's roof has collapsed. The mayor of Murcia has promised anyone responsible will be brought to justice. Jonathan Savage, Fox News.
Former President Donald Trump is expected to be in New York City today for his civil fraud trial. Opening statement set for 9 a.m. our time in the case brought by New York Attorney General Letitia James. California Governor Gavin Newsom is appointing Emily's List President LaFonza Butler to fill the seat of the late Senator Dianne Feinstein. The appointment will come today, Newsom making the appointment without putting limitations or preconditions on Butler running for the seat next year. Student loan payments are back. Payments officially went back into effect Sunday afternoon after more than a 3-year pause brought on by the COVID pandemic and political manipulation by the White House. 2 are dead, 2 others are wounded, including a 7-year-old boy following a shooting on Chicago's west side. All 4 victims were sent to the hospital. 2 died. The child suffered a graze wound to the head. Authorities continue investigating a deadly boat crash in McHenry. The accident happened Saturday when a boat swerved off the Fox River. A 61-year-old woman and a 62-year-old man, both from McHenry, died in that crash. Two more auto plants are now on strike as the UAW continues to expand its work stoppage to 7,000 more workers. Ford Chicago Assembly and Chicago Heights stamping plant remain idled, putting roughly 7,300 workers on the picket line. Authorities resumed their investigation Sunday of a central Illinois truck crash that killed 5, injured 7 others, and prompted evacuations for hundreds of residents on Friday night.
Yesterday, NTSB launched a team to investigate the Friday evening crash involving a semi-truck trailer in combination with a cargo tank semi-trailer. The crash resulted in both fatalities and serious injuries.
Preliminary investigation shows all 5 victims died from exposure to anhydrous ammonia. Autopsies are scheduled for later today. Bears remained winless after blowing a 21-point lead in a 31-28 loss to Denver at Soldier Field. Baseball season is finally over. Cubs end their season out of the playoff scene with a 4-0 loss to the Brewers, while the White Sox wrap up their season with a 2-1 11-inning loss to San Diego. Blackhawks on ice in the NHL preseason in Detroit, and they suffer a 6-1 loss. The news service of MyPillow. For a limited time, get 50% savings with the promo code LIBERTY. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Brandon Tatum wants honesty from politicians.
Whether I trust him 100% or not, or whether I think he's genuine about certain things is irrelevant to me. I just think he was a great president. The man was putting in policies, everybody was winning. So by and large, I think Trump did a lot of great things. And that's why I voted for him, and I voted for him twice. I just wish these people would just be honest, man, and not like be beating around the bush because they feel like they caught up in something.
The Officer Tatum Show, weeknights at 7, right before Jay Sekulow at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey there, Charlie Kirk here. You've probably been hearing my colleagues and I talk about investing with YRefy for a while now. You may have some questions, so let's review. It's true, you can earn up to 10.25% fixed rate of return that's not correlated to the stock market or the Fed. You could turn your income on or off, compound it whatever you choose, and there are absolutely no fees. There's no attack on principal if you ever need your money back, and you'll get your monthly statement with no surprises. Just go to investyrefi.com. That's invest the letter Y and then refy.com, or call 888-YREFY24. Folks, this is a solid investment that actually helps people. Just go to investyrefi.com. That's invest the letter Y and then refy.com, or call 888-YREFY24 and tell them that Charlie Kirk sent you. So call 888-YREFY24. Solid investment. It really helps people. Call 888-YREFY24 and tell them that Charlie Kirk sent you.
Sometimes Balance of Nature gets feedback that Dr. Howard should be played by a better actor. Well, maybe they're right, because I am not an actor, and I don't want to be. I hope that you understand this is real. People are sharing their success stories because their quality of life has improved.
The acute rehab was quite a journey. I thought maybe this is the best it's going to be until I took Balance of Nature.
I had low energy, I wasn't sleeping good at night, and then my wife suggested we try Balance of Nature. My energy came back, it's changed my life.
A surf session can be pretty physically demanding, and Balance of Nature helps me do that.
Quality is what life is about, and that's what we strive for at Balance of Nature. We are a results-based company looking to improve your quality of life.
Go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that is Medi-Share. Maybe you've heard switching to Medi-Share to pay for healthcare can save many families up to $500 a month, and that is huge. But it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The member satisfaction rate for Medi-Share is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. Medi-Share works, too. It's been around for 30 years. Members have shared more than $5 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now. You'll get a price within 2 minutes. So see what you can save. This is a very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. Call 844-57-BIBLE. That's 844-57-BIBLE. 844-57-BIBLE.
Exergen thermometers are a top choice of medical professionals at highly ranked hospitals across the U.S. Accuracy matters, so make Exergen the chosen thermometer for your home and family.
6:38, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Staples stores. You can count on every print project being perfect, and now get $50 off your print order of $150 or more. Offer ends 10/14. Visit staples.com/print for details. Perfect prints guaranteed at Staples. Kennedy inbound, solid traffic all the way in this morning. 55 minutes from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange and climbing already. Eichen jammed up Manheim to Des Plaines Avenue. 48 minutes, 390 to the old post office. Stevenson outbound, accident, left lane block. It's between the Des Plaines River Bridge and the Tri-State this morning. Bishop Ford stop and go traffic inbound 111th into the Ryan merge. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Sunny with a high of 85. Cooler lakeside. 64 at O'Hare. Next news at 7. And Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Papa Nicholas Coffee. Papa Nicholas Coffee, a family tradition since 1897. Online at papanicholas.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The status of science in America. This was an interesting post from Adam Mastriani, who apparently is in the field of psychology. You remember this study that was done about 8 years ago. A big team of researchers tried to redo 100 psychological studies, and about 60% of the 100 failed to replicate. It made big headlines at the time. It's been cited in academic papers a lot. But Mastriani makes the point, the next time someone brings it up, ask them to name someone in the field. Ask them to name as many of the 100 studies as they can. My bet is they top out at 0. I'm basically at 0 myself, and I've written about that study at length. It's really weird. Imagine if someone told you 60% of your loved ones had died in a plane crash. Your first reaction might be disbelief and horror. Why were 60% of my loved ones on the same plane? Why, were they all hanging out with me, without me? But then you would want to know who died, because, that's what really matters. The people you love are not interchangeable. Was it your mom, your best friend, or what? It would be insane to remember only the 60% statistic, and then whenever someone asked you who died in the horrible plane crash, respond, I never really looked into it. It's a perfect analogy. So if you hear the 60% of papers in your field don't replicate, shouldn't you care a lot about which ones don't? Why didn't my colleagues and I immediately open up that paper supplement, click on the 100 leaks, and check out whether any of our most beloved findings died? The answer has to be, we just didn't think it was that important thing to do. We heard about the plane crash, and we didn't even bother to check the list of casualties. What a damning indictment of our field. And I don't think that's limited to psychology, which is a perfect segue to our discussion about COVID, because we've certainly learned, if anything, over the last 3 years, that it definitely includes the field of epidemiology and infectious disease generally. For more on this, pleased to be joined again by Jessica Hockett, a.k.a. Emma Woodhouse. She writes at woodhouse76.com, and you can follow her online on Twitter at ewoodhouse7. Jessica, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Isn't that an interesting observation about this thing? I had forgotten about it till he mentioned this, but 60 out of 100 studies that were of consequence, apparently, were then discussed and built upon, failed to replicate, and nobody cares which of the 60% failed to replicate. It's because this is all just about it's just about producing to produce. It's sort of a cartel, and there's no need to worry about what does or doesn't hold up under additional scrutiny. I've published, I've made my bones, I've got the sinecure, let's move on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's absolutely true in the COVID era, and especially when it comes to people who purportedly died of COVID. It's like nobody wants to look back at what happened and see if it makes any sense, or ask like, who died? Where did they die? How did they die? It's amazing to me. But yeah, I've been doing that for a while now, and things just don't add up. That's for sure.
Well, what is the biggest fallacy that you've uncovered, whether it's here in Cook County or in New York? Because I know you've been doing a lot of work out there.
Yes, I've looked at New York in depth. I think the biggest fallacy is that is probably that the mortality curves that we see, the death curves that are all over the news with COVID or otherwise, are indicative of a disease spread event. Like when people look at these peaks and valleys, it's like, oh yeah, that must be a disease, right? And it's like these curves are actually not indicative of a disease spread event. They don't make sense with the hospital data and other data that we have. And people just have not asked, like, who died? Do we have proof of who died? New York City is a great example because there's no death certificates that you can FOIA. They don't make those public. Illinois, at least, you can get death certificates, and the Cook County Medical Examiner publishes each death that they process, and I can go and look at those. But New York, it's like, who were these people? I have no idea. Did they die? When did they die? Do we have some people who died in December 2019? And their deaths were reclassified and moved forward? That's what some of the data that I'm looking at suggests. It's actually really alarming.
Well, interesting. I mean, one of the things that one of the reasons we want to have you back on is something that you posted last week on your Twitter account about deaths in Chicago, COVID-related deaths in Chicago. And break this down for us. You looked at the monthly COVID-19 deaths by place of death, 2020 to 2022. Most occurred in hospitals, not in nursing homes.
By far.
And the other point was COVID deaths ended when the medical examiner's emergency jurisdiction over hospital, hospice, and nursing home deaths ended. So break that down for us. What does that mean?
Sure. So yeah, the first thing, and this is true nationally as well. If you died of COVID, there's a very high chance that you died at a hospital. 83% of COVID attributed deaths in Chicago over those couple years were in a hospital. 6% occurred in a nursing home. Now, how does that square with what we would hear all the time about how many nursing home residents died of COVID? What it means is really most nursing home deaths, especially in 2020, this data I have to be able to say definitively that over 70% of nursing home residents in Chicago who died of COVID-19 or their deaths were attributed to COVID-19 died in the hospital, not in the nursing home, which I guess people might say, well, why does that matter? They were sick with COVID and they went to the hospital. In a normal year, the percentages are actually reversed. Most nursing home residents pre-2020 did not die in a hospital. You're already in managed healthcare, right? So, a lot of people, they die in the nursing home. But I think what we had, not only in Chicago, but in New York, Detroit, and some other places, we had a mass transfer of nursing home residents in that spring period into hospitals. Hospitals, by the way, that were not overwhelmed, never came close to being overwhelmed. So I have a lot of questions about why there was that transfer of nursing home residents into hospitals, especially because hospitals were paid extra, so to speak, for having COVID patients in the hospital. The other point that you raised that I've observed is that not only COVID deaths but excess deaths, period, began and ended in Chicago with the Cook County Medical Examiner's emergency jurisdiction over healthcare setting deaths. In normal times, the medical examiner does not process every death that occurs at a hospital or that occurs at a nursing home. But that changed in March 2020, where the medical examiner was told to, or given jurisdiction over deaths that occur in those healthcare settings, especially if they were suspected of COVID. Does that make sense?
So okay. So what are you insinuating, if anything, about that anomaly that the medical examiners office took over, and then the deaths stopped when the medical examiner stopped being the recorder of first resort?
Well, when it comes to, if we're talking about just COVID deaths, the implication would be, well, things get counted as COVID when they get evaluated, with a test, right? When the bodies get swabbed for a test, or just when, and this is true nationally and even internationally, because it's according to the WHO guidelines that a COVID death was called a COVID death if somebody tested positive for COVID, some non-natural causes notwithstanding. So it's like a faucet. Really, if you look at the graph, it's like the faucet was turned on and then the faucet was turned up. So the more alarming thing is actually that all excess deaths turned off like a faucet when being turned off in April 2022 when that jurisdiction ended. It's like, wow, the county medical examiner ended excess deaths. That's weird.
So everything was COVID, and then my tour of duty was over. Then nothing is COVID.
Right, and not only nothing was COVID, but like excess deaths ended.
Right.
For not just COVID, but for everything. So really, the implication, and this is true in New York as well as Chicago, is the implication that I see is that maybe some death certificates, maybe not by the Cook County Medical Examiner, but at the state level or at the federal level, there's been some moving around or pushing forward, pulling back, right? That's what I'm seeing, and it's pretty alarming.
The data is being manipulated for the particular.
Being manipulated.
For the particular interests of the.
It's easier to do than you think. It's easy, and again, this is not implicating the Cook County Medical Examiner. It's more at the processing level, maybe at the state or federal level, and maybe not everywhere necessarily. But you can't just turn death on and off, but you can reclassify death certificates. You can move things around.
But what's the incentive? So aren't there competing incentives? And on the one hand, you're incentivized to have more cases and more, more deaths because you can implore the federal government for more money for everything under the sun. On the other hand, you want your management to, output to look good, and so you want as low a death rate and a serious illness rate as possible. So how do those incentives play out?
Well, then you also want to your medical treatments and your shot to look efficacious, right? And then there was this incentive too of you want more people to get vaccinated, but you also want to show that your shot is working. But if the shot, as some people allege, is contributing to adverse events and excess death, that's a problem, right? How are you going to handle that?
So is this a situation where they're just chasing their tail? So immediately we want to make it look worse than it is because of the benefit, and because then when it gets better, it'll look like it was better because of us. And then when it starts to get better, we want to make it look much better so that we can beat our chest and say, look what a great job we did.
That's right. And I don't have the data. I haven't analyzed it at this level yet in Chicago, but I have for New York. I strongly suspect that a lot of the deaths that occurred in hospitals in spring 2020 were people who were already in the hospital when the event began. And so we need the data. New York is hiding data. Let me state that unequivocally. But we need data that shows, look at these people who died in the hospital. New York, you're saying an extra 20,000 people died in 11 weeks in your hospital, an increase over the previous year of 15,000 deaths. When did those people come in the hospital? And why were they admitted? Right? These are really, really simple questions, but New York did not have the volume. Their hospitals were never overwhelmed. They did not have the volume of people coming in March and April to substantiate the number of deaths that they say occurred. And I think it was a lot of people who were already in the hospital, and we're not being told that. We were being given the impression that people were rushing to the hospital, falling ill, being admitted, and then dying because of this new disease. It's a racket. That's a good word for Chicagoans. It's a racket, and we need more investigation into what exactly occurred, going all the way to the beginning to spring 2020.
I just want to get your comment on this college list we mentioned before you came on. The remaining U.S. college COVID vaccine mandates that have COVID vaccine mandates. This comes to us from an outfit, nocollegemandates.com. And it's really, the list is interesting. There's about 80 schools on there, at least according to them. And it's really interesting because a lot of the schools on the list are like these very upper crust, small liberal arts colleges. I mean, private. So we're talking about private schools mainly. DePaul in Indiana, Lake Forest College here, Pomona in California. Of course, Harvard is, Johns Hopkins, and so forth. But it's really interesting, the list. What's your advice and counsel for a parent who wants the prestige of a Harvard?
Doesn't want to get their son or daughter vaccinated.
Yeah.
Well, I told you about my friend that they couldn't move into the dorms at University of Michigan because he wouldn't get boosted.
It's not even
so
about.
They got him an apartment.
And again, this is not an anti-vax thing. It's just like my kid is young and healthy and he doesn't need the vax, so why would I get it? And why would they still mandate it? And why should I look past it?
A college that doesn't want you to think, doesn't want you to have autonomy over your own body. Like, I don't want my kids going to that college. Like, I'm sorry to say, I've already told my kids they can't go to University of Illinois because of what University of Illinois did through COVID.
Remember that? They wouldn't even let them take their garbage out. They locked them in the room.
I mean, talk about rackets. But like if they're doing this, it's not even just about them mandating the shot, although it is, especially at this point. It's, what else are they going to mandate, right? And how are they teaching your kids about what to think and how to think? I just don't want my money to go there. I don't care about the Harvard name, right?
But is this ever going to go away?
Well,
up forever?
But what this really indicates is who's driving this. Who's driving this? The elites that are sending their kids to Harvard and Pomona and Lake Forest College. I mean, that just the list tells you all about the the impetus, where it's coming from for the persistence of all this.
Well, and their donors and their alumni, right? So it's obviously what they want, and it's a giant virtue signal too. Like, we're still doing this, we're still keeping people safe. This is really important, and it helps validate their actions for the past 3 years, right? Like, we did the right thing. So I can't tell other people what to do. Obviously, I don't want other people to tell me what to do, but you can't. A litmus test for me is, what did the college do during 2020, 2021, 2022?
She is Jessica Hockett, a.k.a. Emma Woodhouse. Follow her on Twitter at ewoodhouse7 and her Substack, woodhouse76.com. Jessica, thanks as always.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
When this is the sound of a waterfall in nature, there's no cause for concern. But when it's the sound of water gushing through your living room ceiling because a pipe bursts inside the wall, there's reason to panic unless you pick up the phone and call 1-800-SERVPRO. Only the cleanup and restoration specialists at ServPro can help make fire and water damage like it never even happened. So make the call to 1-800-SERVPRO at the first sign of water damage. Franchises are independently owned and operated.
Hi, I'm Test Director Rick from ServPro, the leader in cleaning, restoration, and construction. It's my job to make sure our pros are prepared for anything. Storm damage? Fixed. Flood damage? We're on it. Fire damage? Not anymore. Aliens? What aliens? We cleaned those sites a while ago. No matter the disaster, our pros will make it like it never even happened. Find out why ServPro is the #1 choice for residential and commercial restoration projects, large and small. Visit servpro.com today.
Balance of Nature, changing the world one life at a time.
I retired 3 years ago, and I've been hearing your ads on the radio for years. And finally, when I moved, I went through this flurry of activity, and all of a sudden, after a couple months after the painting was done and the unpacking and the putting away and everything, because I moved to a different state, and I said, you know what? I'm going to get some of that and try it. I'm telling you, it was like I was a whole new person. I could have given a 3-year-old a run for his money.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Don't let the door hit you on the ass on the way out, General Milley. We'll start there with Dakota Wood at 7:07.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here's Mike Scott.
2 killed, 2 wounded in a West Side shooting. A couple killed in a McHenry boat crash. 3 wounded in a shooting at an East Chicago car show. And 104-year-old Chicago woman sets a world record for the oldest skydiver. WIND Chicago News Time, 7 o'clock.
He claims it's even more election interference. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Former President Trump will go to court today in New York, not for one of his 4 criminal trials, for a civil trial related to the Trump Organization.
Days after the judge ruled Trump and his 2 sons committed a years-long fraud scheme, allegedly inflating their assets on business documents to get better loans and insurance deals. Now, Attorney General James is seeking a $250 million penalty against the former president and his company.
That's Fox's Brooke Singman. On social media, the former president called on the judge to resign, saying that ruling was an abuse of power. California Governor Gavin Newsom is appointing a black woman to the Senate. LaFonza Butler is a Democratic strategist and former advisor to Vice President Harris and will replace the late Senator Dianne Feinstein, who died last week at the age of 90. In the House, some Republicans led by Congressman Matt Gaetz want to oust Speaker Kevin McCarthy, who's also a Republican, for working with Democrats to get short-term spending approved Saturday to avert a government shutdown Sunday. Here's Fox's Alexandria Hoff.
Because he reached across the aisle, Congressman Gaetz said this weekend that he's making good on a threat to file a motion to vacate against the speaker this week. And he says he's got backup for that.
How many Republicans do you have?
Well, enough so that when you host this show next week, if Kevin McCarthy is still the Speaker of the House, he will be serving at the pleasure of the Democrats.
Gaetz said that on CNN State of the Union. McCarthy says bring it on, predicting he will survive and remain Speaker, telling Fox News Sunday it's personal for Gaetz.
Matt's probably planned this from the day I ran for Speaker, if you watched. He never voted for it.
It's October. That has the Supreme Court back to work, starting a new term. The Nobel Prize for Medicine was awarded this morning to 2 University of Pennsylvania scientists for their work fighting COVID. Catalina Carrico and David Weissman, who developed mRNA technology used to make a COVID vaccine. America's listening to Fox News.
The era. Stay.
64 degrees at 7:02 on AM 560, The Answer, and good morning. I'm Mike Scott. 2 are dead, 2 others wounded, including a 7-year-old boy following a shooting on Chicago's West Side. Police say the child and 3 men were in a vacant lot yesterday in the first block of South Whipple when a vehicle pulled up and someone inside opened fire. 2 men died at a nearby hospital. The child suffered a graze wound to the head. Authorities continue investigating a deadly boat crash in McHenry. It happened Saturday when the boat swerved off the Fox River. A 61-year-old woman from McHenry was dead at the scene. A 62-year-old man was airlifted to a nearby hospital and later died. The Bears remain winless after blowing a 21-point lead in a 31-28 loss to Denver at Soldier Field. Bears wideout DJ Moore is surprised by the slow start.
Because every game we've been in besides one, we had a chance to win. So this one is a heartbreaker.
Moore had 8 catches for 131 yards and a TD. Justin Fields, 335 yards through the air in the losing effort. Bears visit the Commanders on Thursday. Leaders in the Pilsen community will hold a community meeting tonight. Details will be shared on a new temporary illegal migrant shelter to open there. Meeting starts at 6 at Benito Juarez High School. A Chicago man accused of sexually assaulting 2 women is in custody. Arrested in the state of Oregon last week, Renee Chandler was apprehended in Portland by U.S. Marshals. Authorities recovered an illegal firearm, $19,000 in cash, several driver's licenses, and numerous stolen credit cards. Chandler was wanted on 4 arrest warrants out of Cook County. A 104-year-old Chicagoan made some history over the weekend, setting a world record for the oldest person to skydive. Dorothy Hoffner set the record yesterday at Skydive Chicago in Ottawa.
It was wonderful. It was a nice, peaceful, and I had to keep myself awake so I could see the scenery.
The centenarian was born and raised in Chicago. The experience, however, was not new. She made her first jump when she was 100. Cubs end their season with a 4-0 loss to the Brew Crew, while the White Sox end their season with a 2-1 loss in 11 to San Diego. Red Wings over the Blackhawks in the NHL preseason 6-1. The news, a service of Health Insurance Mentors. Are you 65 or older? Thinking about Medicare? Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you ever have. Call Stephen Tucker today for free Medicare advice, 630-674-1551. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Freedom Summit Chicago tickets are now on sale. Join AM 560, The Answer, on November 11th at the Westin Chicago Northwest for Freedom Summit, featuring Rand Paul, Judge Janine Pirro from Fox News, Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, and many more. Tickets are on sale now at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Automated Systems Incorporated, HealthInsuranceMentors.com, and by Illinois Concealed Carry Training.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors in Roselle. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows and doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we've been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows. From modern to traditional styles, Marvin replacement windows and doors can bring your garden right into your living space. Let us help make your world feel brighter and spacious. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you'll get a product expert, a design consultant who is solution-minded, and someone who has your best interest in mind. Our professional services, along with the best products like Marvin, are why we are proud of our 5-star reviews. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows is your trusted window and door experts in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation, or come and experience our state-of-the-art showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
All right, Christmas will be here before we know it. If you're looking for a really special gift, I encourage you to check out the firearms made right here in America by our great friends at Henry Repeating Arms. Now, you start by going to their website, henryusa.com, order their free holiday gift guide, and they'll mail it with free decals that you can use for stocking stuffers. Perfect timing. Folks, when you give someone a Henry, you're giving them a work of art that is built with the finest craftsmanship I've ever seen as a collector. Now, their performance is top-notch. Mine were accurate, all of them, right out of the box. They shoot smooth and straight, and they have been reliable ever since. They have over 200 models of rifles and shotguns and revolvers to choose from. One of the things I like the most about these firearms, they're family heirlooms. They'll always be backed by the company's lifetime warranty. So if you want to put something that's made in America under the tree this Christmas, henryusa.com. Get their free gift guide and their decals today. That's henryusa.com. You will love this company.
Balance of Nature, changing the world one life at a time.
I gained a lot of weight because I was so bored. All I did was bake and eat, okay? And I knew I wasn't eating right, and I wasn't feeling right, and I didn't have any energy. And I said, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to try it. Not only did it give me energy and help me feel better, but I've lost 35 pounds. I know Balance of Nature is not a weight loss type program, and it may not work for everybody that way, but for me it has, and it's given me energy. And I've been able to do stuff that I haven't been able to do in years.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to bounceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code Chicago.
7:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Inbound Edens, 34 minutes already this morning from Lake Cook Road to the junction. Inbound Kennedy, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange, 72 in on that commute and on the outbound side. Right now we're looking at 36 out to the big airport this morning. Ike in 55, 390 into the old post office. Stevenson, still a manageable 45 from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan, 22 into the Burns Circle interchange. Tri-State, disabled vehicle with a right lane blocked right now, northbound, between the Stevenson to right before Ogden Avenue. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Andy Robb.
Bright sunshine today, high 85. Tonight, clear, low 63. Mostly sunny for Tuesday. The high for tomorrow, 86. Tomorrow night, low 68. Wednesday, clouds and sun, high 83. I'm Andy Robb on AM 560, The Answer.
64 at O'Hare, 62 Lakefront. Your next news update is at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Alpha Wealth Group, bringing the trilogy of estate, tax, and investment planning together. Visit alphawealthgroup.com for a free report.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So on his way out the door, General Mark Milley, outgoing chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, big Ibram Kendi fan. Maybe he can help Ibram Kendi resuscitate his Center for Anti-Racism at Boston U now as Milley goes into retirement.
Got to reinvent himself, right?
Milley responded without responding directly to the statement that Trump made on Truth Social last week. Talking about Milley, he said, this guy turned out to be a woke train wreck who, if the fake news reporting is correct, was actually dealing with China to give them a heads up on the thinking of the President of the United States. This is an act so egregious that in times gone by, the punishment would have been death. And, of course, they immediately led the D.C. press corps to run for their fainting couches. Oh, my gosh, he's calling for the execution of General Milley and so on and so forth. Well, on his way out the door at his retirement ceremony, sorry I couldn't make it, Milley said, we don't take an oath to the country. We don't take an oath to a tribe. We don't take an oath to a religion. We don't take an oath to a king or queen or a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
It still stings, huh?
Milley, you mean?
Facetious.
Yeah, I mean, stings Milley? Doesn't sting me. Milley's a douchebag. I'm sorry, but I don't know how else to describe him. He's been a disgrace during his tenure as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, as far as I'm concerned. And, by the way, a disaster. I'm not just talking about his insulting testimony before congressional committees. I'm talking about, like, him along with Lloyd Austin being the architects of the Afghanistan withdrawal. Have we forgotten that? Boy, I tell you, they're really full of themselves for the performance on their watch, aren't they? I guess that's attendant to being one of the preferred elites of the D.C. press corps. You'll always get, hey, good graphic pieces in the Amazon Post so long as you're an antagonist to Trump or the next conservative du jour. What an insult, I think. I'm not a military guy, though, so maybe there were some different perspectives on him or some more textured reviews than I've given here. For that, we're pleased to be joined by Dakota Wood, who served America for 2 decades in the Marine Corps and is a senior research fellow for defense programs at the Heritage Foundation. Dakota, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, hope you had a good weekend.
I did until I read that piece about Milley's statement at the retirement. So anyway, General Milley, douchebag, not douchebag. I'll put that to you.
No, I think that's a little harsh.
Yeah.
Clearly, I mean, I have spoken about some of the problems that I and my colleagues had with Milley's statements. The whole thing about him trying to understand white rage and all those sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
His recoiling from the walk across. I can't remember now the name of the plaza. When all the rioting was going on in
DC.
Washington D.C. and stuff. So he has made some really bad stumbles or decisions very much in the public eye. But his military career in the Army was pretty decent, right? So it's we have these very public moments that characterize a person's career where it probably doesn't actually capture the entirety of a career. So I do think that Milley had a very troubled tour or tenure as chairman of the Joint Chiefs. I wish we had somebody else, but I wouldn't put his entire career and his character in flames.
Well,
the spat between him and Trump, I think, is childish.
Well, it's more, it's right, and it's more than Trump, as I mentioned. The Afghan withdrawal, his fingerprints are on that. Number one, number two, how's recruitment going at the military under with the armed services under Lloyd Austin and Mark Milley? Good or bad, as they've become more and more, if they more and more act in service of leftist cultural ideologues rather than our national security?
Yeah, well, again, I think we're painting a bit of a broad brush. The decision on the withdrawal came out of the White House. Austin, Milley, I dropped his name, the commander of U.S. Central Command, a guy I know, Kenneth McKenzie, and some others argued quite vigorously to use Bagram Air Base, to not do it as it was being executed. And they were told, no, you can't have the forces needed to run Bagram and others. And so they made the best they could out of a very bad situation.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's one thing. Obviously, this came from the White House, and the person who is most to blame is Biden. But they're also reporting after the fact that they, for example, they had a sniper who had a shot at the terrorist who blew up those 15 armed servicemen and women, and they didn't take the shot. So that seems to me a operational call.
It is, and General McKenzie has talked about this, even in retirement on that they were inundated with all sorts of data. The person who said that they could have taken the shot has one story. From the command level, trying to sort through all the other information, it was not clear at all that they had indications of a specific person coming in toward the gate. So I know we're getting into these details, but you brought up these little things. I'm just trying to tell the larger story. Recruiting is in a horrible mess, absolutely horrible mess. Do we ascribe that to a specific Secretary of Defense or Chairman of the Joint Chiefs? I don't think so, because it's more of a societal problem, right? I mean, obesity is rampant across America's youth. So do we blame a particular general or admiral for that? The willingness to serve the country, when in our schools and in our families and senior public officials, say that America is all broken. I mean, why would you want to join the military and stuff like that? So I think again, that Austin and Milley could be much better spokesmen for the nobility of military service. But I think rampant criminal records, substance abuse, substandard educations in our secondary school systems, health problems, mental health problems, make 3/4 of American youth between 17 and 24 ineligible for service.
Well,
so again, I think it's a bigger story that really needs to be told.
Sure, those are all variables too, but this is not a cultural problem. This is a military problem, or a political military problem.
It's a problem if you can't get people in. Why don't you have the people?
I'm getting to the next one, not what we were talking about. The next one, per a op-ed by Seth Cropsey, who's a former naval officer, right? He writes in the Journal, the Sino-American military balance, America's greatest advantage is its submarine fleet. Our 50 nuclear-powered attack submarines are heavily armed with torpedoes and missiles, and soon will deploy unmanned unarmed vehicles and more advanced loitering munitions, flying drone with a warhead that can wait some time before engaging a target, and so on and so forth. But the headline of his piece is, the sorry state of America's submarine fleet, saying our submarine fleet is increasingly decrepit, and that's increasingly provocative for the Chinese communists vis-a-vis Taiwan. So that has everything to do with who's in charge of the military and in the White House, and nothing to do with the larger culture.
Yeah, it's a 30-year problem in the aging and the degradation of our shipping yards, with the maintenance yards that can conduct maintenance on the submarines. So Virginia-class submarines are awesomely capable. They're the best submarines in the world. But if you don't have the pier space, the dry docks, and the trained workers to get in there and fix them, then you have a submarine that sits for a couple of years, literally, waiting to go into the yards to be fixed and come out. So the 50 submarines, maybe 20 of them are available on any given day. And so what Seth is talking about is the actual numbers battle. It takes $4 billion to build a Virginia-class submarine. It usually takes 2 to 3 years for them to come out of the yard. So right now the Navy is trying to build 2 of those per year. It won't be until the 2030s, when you look at retirements and new stuff coming in, that you get up to 60 attack submarines, which is what the objective is. And so his recommendation is, got it, Virginias are great. We don't have enough of them, and we don't have the shipyard capacity to keep them in good working order, so you have the numbers to apply against China. So let's look at Japan and Korea and some other places and buy diesel-powered submarines. They don't have the range or the endurance underwater that a nuclear-powered submarine does, but you would base them local to that theater. And so it's a proposal of his to boost the numbers of submarines by buying a $1 billion sub with shorter range, but you would use it in the Pacific theater, as opposed to waiting on the very long-term plan to fix our shipyards and get more of these nuclear-powered submarines into the water.
Diesel powered, though. I mean, you got to be green compliant. You mean windmill powered submarines?
Well,
right. Yeah. I mean, these diesel boats, they're great. They've got big battery packs on it, because when you submerge, right, then it goes, it's called an air independent propulsion system, and it uses battery packs. So you can't stay underwater for extended periods of time like you do with a nuclear powered boat. Right, you just don't have the exhaust capability, when you're underwater and it's not a World War II diesel sub. I mean, these are very advanced things. They're very quiet, but you just can't stay underwater as long as you would with a nuclear boat.
Now, who was responsible, do you think, for bringing wokeness into the military?
Oh, that's been a 20-year journey. It comes out of academia. It comes out of senior officers that are encouraged to broaden their scope and study not just warfighting, but get this more rounded education. How do you deal with other instruments of political power? Do you want to be in touch with American culture and these sorts of things? And so it's this academia, intellectual elite thing that comes into our system. And when you go from Republican to Democrat administrations, usually it's on the Democrat side that brings in these kind of leftist, progressive liberals out of academia, and you start getting into, critical race theory, right? And the environmental social governance sorts of things in corporate policy and identity politics, and you get to pick your own gender. And so the political appointees develop policy, implement that. The uniform class, may argue, maybe it doesn't, maybe they bought into it, but they're going to salute and implement these orders or directives so long as they're not illegal, right? So there's a legality point to that. So it's a 20-year, maybe even going back to the Clinton administration, of putting in these officials. Some of the officials, once they're political appointees, they're then called burrowing in. They turn the position into an actual long-term formal government position, government civil servant, and then you almost can't fire them. And so it starts to seed in this sort of destructive ideology.
We had Victoria Spartz, Representative Victoria Spartz, on the show last week. And, of course, as you know, she's of Ukrainian extraction, now a Hoosier. And she seemed to be getting a bit weary of the what I would call propaganda, what you might call sort of hyperbole surrounding Ukrainian funding and the prospects for Ukraine to repel the Russians, and at what cost and on what timeline, all the things that we've been talking about. But I mean, she essentially said, at some point that there's going to have to be a negotiated deal between Zelensky and the Russians and Putin. And I know the sort of standard response is, well, that takes two, and Putin's not willing. But is that where you still is that where you see this ultimately going, or is it still open ended?
No, I think it will be a negotiated settlement. It won't be a negotiation. I think Ukraine is going to have to take a really lousy deal and just swallow it, right? And that it's not just in the U.S., but in the publics of many European countries are kind of getting tired of this constant demand from Ukraine, right? That nothing is ever enough. Well, in war, that's actually the case. This is a reminder of what major warfare is like. It doesn't end prettily. It costs much more in lives and treasure than anybody had anticipated. And the economies here in the United States and in Europe in particular are unprepared for that. You know, we've got huge social entitlement programs. I mean, we're looking at a $7 trillion federal budget for FY23. $7.3 trillion. We'll have a $2+ trillion budget deficit, adding that much more. You know, we're spending more than we're taking in. And 2/3 of that is obligated spending, right? You know, Medicare and Social Security and these others. So this quibbling over how much we're spending is less than 1/3 of the budget. So all these measures won't do anything to hit the $33 trillion. So if you take that domestic debate and now you look at how much more money do we want to give to Ukraine, it's no surprise that there is this weariness of constantly trying to fund this war in this far-off land, right? And so the future problems of a Russian win really don't resonate with a lot of people back here in the United States, where we're dealing with, you know, identity politics and gender confusion and mounting national debt. So I think her comment reflects a rising frustration with, you know, the constant demands that war call for. And so where does this lead? I think eventually it leads to Russia owning Crimea and probably that part of Ukraine that they currently sit on, because Ukraine can't get sufficient military support to mount an offensive against an entrenched defensive position that the Russians have been able to put together over the last 6 months. So it's an accumulation of events, both political, economic, and the military situation on the ground, that it's going to make it very, very hard for Ukraine to undo on their end, and we've got our own problems here at home.
Dakota Wood served America for 2 decades in the Marine Corps. He's Senior Research Fellow for Defense Programs at the Heritage Foundation. Dakota, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
It's great being with you. Thank you.
Thank you, and he joined us on our Turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Stop overpaying for wireless. There is a better way. Pure Talk saves the average family about $1,000 a year on the most dependable 5G network in the U.S. You can get unlimited talk, text, and plenty of high-speed data for just $30 a month. If you're ready to cut your wireless bill in half, dial pound 250 and say keyword spend less, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Again, dial pound 250 and say spend less, and make the switch to Pure Talk today.
All right, can't wait to do it. Take Balance of Nature. Why? Not getting enough fruits and veggies on my own, and that is where Balance of Nature comes in. 31 different whole fruits and vegetables. Boy, that's some good stuff. Fruits and veggies in a capsule. Yes, you know how they do it? They take the fruits and vegetables, and they powder them after an advanced vacuum cold process, which stabilizes the maximum nutrient content. You can taste the fruits. You can taste the vegetables in those capsules. So get your health back. Be proactive. Take Balance of Nature. 800-246-8751. 800-246-8751. Use discount code Chicago First-timers get free shipping and 35% off their first preferred order of fruits and veggies. Or simply go online to balanceofnature.com and be sure to use discount code Chicago.
You have the right to know and the freedom to choose what's best for you and your family's well-being. This has been the Trinity Health Freedom Expo motto since it began in 2005. Throughout the years, the Health Freedom Expo provided a platform for reputable and uncensored access to current information and the top products from the natural health industry. The 32nd Health Freedom Expo is on October 14th and 15th at the Tinley Park Convention Center. The expo speakers and exhibitors come from all walks of life and a variety of backgrounds, including healthcare, law, and research and development. The 2023 Trinity Health Freedom Expo will feature nearly 36 expert speakers, including Dr. Bradley Nelson, Dr. Ellen Tart-Jensen, Dr. Brian Hooker, and for the private symposium, Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, board-certified osteopathic medical doctor, founder of Tenpenny Integrative Medical Center, and vaccine researcher. View the full lineup and register at trinityhealthfreedomexpo.com or call 888-658-3976. Attend the expo on October 14th and 15th because you have the right to a naturally vibrant life.
This is Jerry Boyer for Townhall.com. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals has issued a stinging rebuke to the Biden administration. The court found that the administration's pattern of pressuring social media companies to censor politically disfavored content violated the First Amendment. Musk opened the floodgates when he bought Twitter and released the records showing almost daily coordination between government and social media companies. When the feds and mega tech companies team up against a Stanford epidemiologist, such as plaintiff Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, for speaking the truth, it's time to fight back. The lawsuit, led by Missouri and Louisiana AGs, and the New Civil Liberties Alliance, assisted by an amicus brief from the Alliance Defending Freedom, successfully prevailed over a pattern which amounts to one of the worst violations of First Amendment law in American history. Congratulations to the plaintiffs, their counsel, but most of all to the American people, whose First Amendment rights were vindicated.
AM 560, The Answer.
You know, I really like Dakota Wood, but I just, that Milley guy, he just rubs me. He's literally, some of these guys, him particularly, they're like like a grotesque character out of Dr. Strangelove, like General Buck Turgidson. Remember George C. Scott playing him? That's who Milley reminds me of. They're just, I just
couldn't be gone quick enough.
Yeah.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
How did DeSantis do in his sit down with Bill Maher? And is that an indication of how badly things are going that he had to sit down with Bill Maher? We'll start there with David Drucker at 7:37.
According to Bill Maher, he is an answer to that. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
64 degrees at 7:31. Former President Donald Trump expected to be in New York City today as a civil fraud trial begins. Last week, the judge overseeing the case ruled that Trump had been overvaluing properties for years and is liable for fraud. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is not concerned about Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz's efforts to oust him as Speaker. McCarthy saying on CBS Face the Nation, it's a personal issue with Gaetz. McCarthy noted that Gaetz was one of the last holdouts during the House vote for Speaker in January. Arizona Congresswoman Debbie Lesko moments ago on Fox saying she believes the congressman is just trying to stir controversy.
Matt Gaetz has seemed to have forgotten that he was one of the 21 Republicans that voted with all the Democrats on Friday to kill our bill that would have funded the government, reduced government spending, and secured the border.
Gaetz says it might take a couple of ballots to try and oust McCarthy.
I might not have him the first time, but I might have him before the 15th ballot.
Gaetz referred to Democrat Congressman and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries as, quote, Kevin's new boss, end quote. California Governor Gavin Newsom appointing Emily's List President LaFonza Butler to fill the seat of late Senator Dianne Feinstein. More than 75,000 Kaiser Permanente healthcare workers are ready to walk off the job.
People are just really, really tired. We're working full time, and then we're working overtime, and then we're working double time.
The three-day strike would affect hospitals and clinics in California, Oregon, Washington State, Colorado, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. 2 are dead, 2 others are wounded, including a 7-year-old boy following a shooting on Chicago's west side yesterday. No arrests have been made. Authorities continue investigating a deadly boat crash in McHenry Saturday, where a 61-year-old woman and a 62-year-old man were killed. Chicago police are searching for a driver involved in a deadly hit and run in Logan Square. A man was riding a motorized scooter yesterday when a vehicle failed to stop at a red light, striking the man on the scooter. Bears remain winless after blowing a 21-point lead in a 31-28 loss to Denver at Soldier Field. Bears visit the Commanders next. Cubs end their season with a 4-0 loss to the Brewers. White Sox fall to San Diego 2-1 to end the season in 11 innings. And the Blackhawks were smoked by the Red Wings 6-1 in a preseason loss in Detroit. The news service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency. Go to surroundchicago.com today. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Freedom Summit Chicago tickets are now on sale. Join AM 560, The Answer, on November 11th at the Westin Chicago Northwest for Freedom Summit, featuring Rand Paul, Judge Janine Pirro from Fox News, Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, and many more. Tickets are on sale now at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Best Dental Group of Bartlett, the Illinois Family Institute, and by Alpha Wealth Group.
It happens every year. Winter. Delivering and receiving supplies and getting people where they need to go can be impossible. Keeping your business doors and gates working properly to keep out the extreme weather is a major concern. Your business can't afford a loss of income or productivity. Think ahead this winter and call Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. for your commercial door maintenance and security tune-up now. You can't always plan when your doors break down, and it always seems to come at the least convenient time. Industrial Door Company will ensure your doors, grills, gates, and dock equipment are working to specification and give you advice on how to increase the life of your doors. Go online to see a range of products and services at industrialdoor.com. Call anytime, 847-258-5620. Their team will be there before the extreme cold weather causes financial losses for your company and assist in your time of need. Since 1982, the Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. takes care of your doors so you can take care of business.
Think the government is spying on you? Wait until you learn the entire truth from Swiss America, the trusted leader in precious metals for 40 years. Let's just say you might want to think twice before making a bank withdrawal these days, because somebody could be watching. It's true. Let Swiss America educate you about how banks are required to spy on us for the government and report any behavior they deem suspicious. You'll be shocked when you read The Secret War on Cash from Swiss America, which is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. It's free to Salem listeners. Get your free copy of The Secret War on Cash by calling or texting 800-630-1495. That's 800-630-1495. This war includes digital currencies too, so please get and read The Secret War on Cash free by calling or texting right now at 800-630-1495. 800-630-1495. Message and data rates may apply.
Gillette Intimate gives guys a gentle and easy shave. Don't treat yourself like junk. Respect it with Gillette Intimate, the best a man can get. Buy now at a retailer near you.
7:37 Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Edens 35, Lake Cook Road to the junction. The Kennedy 70 minutes from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike right now at 65 minutes from 390 into the old post office. Stevenson in, we'll call it an hour, 57 minutes, but 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive will likely go to an hour very shortly. Inbound Dan Ryan, 26, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Solid traffic on DuSable Lakeshore Drive northbound between Bryn Mawr and Hollywood. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Sunny and 85 in your forecast. It will be cooler lakeside and an overnight low of 63. 64 right now. Next news at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. America First with Sebastian Gorka. Weekday afternoons at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Ron DeSantis sitting down with Bill Maher.
Would you have done that interview if you were him? I mean,
Sure,
I
why
guess
not?
you got nothing to lose.
Why not? I mean, he can handle Bill Maher. That's not frightening. No. But he needs to be prepared to have something to say about why this race isn't over or shouldn't be over, even if it's trending in that direction. And this was that exchange. Bill Maher, sort of always taking the position of let me just cut through it and then just tell you the truth here. But what Bill Maher is always doing, by the way, for some conservatives who somehow get wooed by anyone who is pretending to break from the orthodoxy of the left, but you have to understand the motivation. Are they breaking from the orthodoxy of the left because they've seen the error of their ways, or are they breaking from the orthodoxy of the left because they want to improve the left's performance in the interest of retaining or capturing power? And Bill Maher is of the latter variety, in my view. But anyway, here was their exchange.
You did not take my advice.
What was it?
I was on this show a few times when we talked. I said, this guy's crazy to run this time. He's, 45 years old?
Yeah.
You just had a birthday, right?
Yeah.
You could run for the next 20 years. If you were Biden, the next 40. Okay, why run against Trump? You're trying to thread this needle that will never happen.
Well, for a couple reasons.
You can't disavow him because that's the base, and yet you're running against him. And that's why, I mean, let's face it, Ron, if the campaign was going well, you wouldn't be on this show.
Oh, that's not true. One, I don't think he can win the election. I could win the election. Two, I don't think he could actually get the job done that we need to do. For example, COVID.
And then you know where he takes it from there. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by David Drucker. He is senior writer for The Dispatch, author of In Trump's Shadow, The Battle for 2024 and the Future of the GOP. Dave, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Yeah, good to be here, guys.
So the what Bill Maher misses, of course, is, well, yeah, the real part of the answer is I'm out of office in 28. It's tough to run, and I've got 2 Republican senators in the state I call home that aren't going anywhere, and it's hard to run for presidency when you've been out of office and out of the public eye, even for 2 years, just as Jeb Bush. So that's part of it, too. It's, the opportunity presents itself when it presents itself, whether you're ready to go or not. DeSantis is never going to have more appreciation for job performance than he does now.
Well, look, I think a lot of the reason these guys run, and ladies, is because they want to be president and think they can win. And it's one of the reasons why they don't drop out of a race unless they literally run out of money and cannot afford to campaign. So I assume there was all sorts of strategizing behind the scenes with DeSantis, and at least with his wife, who he trusts the most. But, you look at it from his point of view. He has one of the few solid performances with coattails of any Republican in the country in a midterm year in which the party flubbed it. Polling shows him, competitive with Trump, competitive with Biden, and he's got all sorts of money and momentum and people saying they're going to give him more money. And he thinks to himself, yeah, I should run. Why shouldn't I run? Why should I wait? You wait if you don't think – first of all, you wait if you don't know that you want it, if you don't think you're ready, if you don't know that you can build the kind of organization that will put you in a position to win. I think Nikki Haley is a good case for proving you can stay relevant enough to mount a credible presidential campaign, having been out of a public office for a while. But I just think it was pretty simple. I think Team DeSantis thought that this was going to be there was a straighter path to the finish line than there turned out to be. But, he's not hardly the first politician that has miscalculated in that regard.
But do you blame his campaign for this? Because, he really hid from the media, I think, for the first 6 to 9 months of his campaign.
Well, I think they made a strategic decision based on how things went for them in Florida, that they didn't have to talk to, the mainstream media or mainstream outlets, and that they could just talk to conservative media, and that in a sense, I think the governor looked at it as part of his appeal. I'm not going to play, and I'm sort of paraphrasing here, right? But I'm not going to play this game where I talk to the hostile media that that purposely works against me and says I'm one way when I'm really another way. And in doing so, I think there was a reasonable expectation that he would be rewarded for doing so by at least the Republican base. They're the last group of people that like the mainstream media. As it turns out, you limit your voting universe, and it makes you look as though you fear them, even if you don't. And I think that's why they changed directions. And candidates that will speak with media of all varieties, particularly the hostile kind, if not the just mainstream kind, usually you end up with your own voters on the right side of that. I mean, they look at you fighting and holding the line and arguing, and they were like, yeah, that's good. That's somebody that'll argue with, the Democrats and foreign adversaries, and they like what they see.
Yeah, I mean, that's the point I was making in the Vivek Ramaswamy run-up was he's having moments on the cable news networks that should be Ron DeSantis's moments, but DeSantis made the strategic error or tactical error, really, and I disagree. I mean, I agree with you, and I was saying the same thing. Is like, those were the moments because this is not about you freeze them out when you're president. You freeze them out and say, I'm not going to bother with it. When you're a candidate, this is the opportunity to demonstrate that you are going to take the fight to them, which is exactly what the Republican Party base, I would say more than the base, most of the party wants on every front. They know somebody has to take the fight, not just sit back and wait for the fight to be brought to them.
Yeah, and not only that, I think this is true for Democrats and Republicans, but if you limit yourself to so-called friendly media, they actually end up asking you questions that you can paint yourself into a corner if you want to end up in a competitive in a general election, right? Because they're like, oh, you're with us, and oftentimes friendly media that is opinion journalist friendly media, not just reporter working for a friendly outlet, so-called. DeSantis has gotten all kinds of questions about whether he's going to pardon all of the January 6th defendants, and did Trump win the election or did he not, and was it rigged? And look, whatever anybody's opinion is on this stuff, if DeSantis wants to be competitive in a general, he doesn't want to have to paint himself into a corner constantly addressing this stuff and saying things that independents and swing voters might find distasteful.
Yeah, but it's the old problem. Yeah, well, you need to get to the general before you're worried about winning the general, and the path to getting to the general is not tiptoeing through the tulips, particularly in this environment. I'm not saying you have to spend your time doing chapter and verse, but you can't be perceived as ducking questions where your potential voters feel like their potential fellow travelers are being treated unfairly.
Well, no, very true. I just think, on balance, it's another reason why DeSantis' initial strategy of limiting his interviews to media that is deemed, conservative, not hostile, all of that, also has downsides. And it's not just that you're not reaching Republicans and conservatives who digest other media for whatever the reason is. It's not just that you're preventing yourself from having these very fruitful debates where you can show your bona fides and show you know how to fight. It's that you end up having to answer these questions in the most counterproductive way possible.
Well, right, but I mean, if you're skilled, you turn that on the interview, or you turn to something that you want to that you have to say on that may be tangentially related to the topic. I wanted to get to something else though too. RFK Jr. now seemingly indicating his big announcement on October 9th is that he's leaving the Democrat Party and he's going to run as an independent. If he does indeed do that, how do you think that shakes out for a Biden-Trump matchup, if that is indeed what the matchup becomes?
Well, I think at the outset, it has the potential to be more damaging to Trump in that kind of a matchup than to Biden. Right? If you look at RFK's approval numbers, he's doing much better with Republicans or people saying they're going to vote in a Republican primary than he is with Democrats. And if you look at the positions he's taken on issues that have attracted attention, a lot of it is very appealing to Republican voters. And he's been mostly propped up by conservative media. So these things are unpredictable, but this is not a candidate that, at least so far, is running to Biden's left to find Democratic voters that believe Biden hasn't been liberal enough. This is somebody who on some pretty big issues appears to be more in line with the populist, aligned with the populist right. And so actually right now, I think it causes Trump a bigger problem by far.
Well, but right now doesn't matter, because what matters is the general election. And the general election, RFK Jr. He's going to be talking about things like how the eco-apocalypse is upon us. So that's good. That's not going to attract too many Republican primary voters.
Well, right, but he can't help himself with vaccines. Look, I'm giving you my analysis based on a general election matchup, not based on today, which is nothing.
Right.
He's just, if you look at the polling, he is much more appealing to the populist right and people that align with that.
Yeah, but
he often include people who consider themselves Democrats, and this is not Biden's problem at the moment. It is Trump's problem.
But he's appealing to more to the right in a vacuum. The vacuum is, do I like what RFK Jr. is saying? Sure. Am I going to vote for him over Trump? No. I mean, that's what the analysis will ultimately be, that by the people who are looking at RFK and say, did you see the RFK interview that Tucker did? You should watch it. That doesn't mean they're voting for him over Trump.
Well, it doesn't mean they're voting for anybody over Trump. But part of Trump's appeal, part of what has made Trump strong, is he attracts voters that wouldn't necessarily vote, right? One of my colleagues, Selena Zito, in her book referred to them as the Peroistas, right? The kind of voter that shows up once every generation to vote for an outside-the-box outsider candidate and then just doesn't participate. Trump, of course, having participated 3 times in a row, has been able to go back to the well on these voters over and over again. But these are the kind of voters that are not necessarily locked into Trump because of Trump. They're locked into, outside the box, odd independents, things like that. And so, again, I'm just telling you the way this thing looks. And we don't even know if RFK is going to be any kind of factor ultimately.
No,
right. That's how I look at it today.
Yeah, possibly. The presumption I made, which I believe this is more likely than not, but a lot of people don't. Biden, again, barring any sort of health issue, it's going to be Biden-Harris again for the Democrats, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. He's the incumbent. He's running.
Okay, I just, you hear the same thing that I do, where people are like, in the 11th hour, it's going to be this one.
Or
And
Michelle
Gavin Newsom,
Obama's going to come in.
Gavin Newsom is right there. He's waiting in the wings.
This is crack pottery. It's fantasy. Now, Biden is going to be 81 years old next month.
Oof.
As we all know, it doesn't take a political analyst to say this, right? I'm not some genius. When you're 81 years old, things can happen. You can trip and fall and hit your head. And if I do it at 52 years old, I put a Band-Aid on and I go to work. And if you're 81 years old or 82 years old, you might die. So anything can happen. But a lot of the fantasy of guess who they are going to slip in.
Right,
First of all, the Democratic Party is as weak as the Republican Party from an institutional standpoint. They have no control over anything. So the strongest player they have is the incumbent president of the United States, who controls the party as much as anybody does. And by the way, he's actually paid attention to it and funded it more than Barack Obama ever did. He just never had any use for it. So he's going to be the nominee unless there's a health event. And by the way, if that health event happens too late in the process, there's going to be no slipping anybody else in. It's going to be Kamala Harris, and she'll, the DNC will have to vote on a running mate, and that'll be that.
Wow. Well, what about Senator Ted Cruz? He keeps saying that Michelle Obama is going to come in at the last minute.
Listen, I know
ridiculous.
Cruz.
It's wrong.
Yeah, I talk to him all the time. He is a smart guy.
Right.
He is trolling.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's trolling.
Yeah. Yeah. Never gonna.
And
never
Michelle
gonna
Obama
happen.
would never do that.
By the way,
never.
By the way, the NBA season is about to start, and I'm going to be the point guard for the Los Angeles Lakers. Starting.
That's what we heard. Yeah. Congratulations.
I play the wing. I'm going to lead the league in assists, and that's about as true as the idea that there are powers that are going to drop in a former first lady.
Yeah, I know. I love that. Well, that's what's fun about it. It's that they are going to do this. Who's the they? I don't know. The Obamas or something. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there is no they.
David Drucker, senior writer for The Dispatch, author of In Trump's Shadow, The Battle for 2024 and the Future of the GOP. Thanks as always, David.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper, hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
All right. Are you tired of the heat and humidity, but more importantly, the musty, damp odor that hits you in the face when you walk in your front door? Well, the air from your basement or crawl space will eventually permeate up into your living space. Do you know that the air in your home can be up to 5 times more polluted than the air outside? Well, PermaSeal can help with that. The PermaDry air filtration and dehumidification system dehumidifies and filtrates all in one. It prevents the increase of mold spores and removes them. It removes airborne dust particles, allergens, and bacteria. And the PermaDry does not cost a lot of money to run either. Guess what? You can save up to $189 a year in electricity costs over that store-bought portable. In the warmer months, dehumidifiers seriously help your AC run more efficiently, saving you money. So be sure to ask about also their crawl space encapsulation and clean space basement when you call them for your free estimate. And the number 2, call 800-421-SEAL, 800-421-SEAL, or simply go online and visit PermaSeal.net.
Tune in every Saturday afternoon at 3 for the Money Hour Radio, brought to you by Pierre Shale Financial Group. Learn estate and tax planning strategies, choosing the right IRA, and the ever-important decision when to take Social Security benefits. When you have retirement in sight, sound decisions are critical. Tune in to the Money Hour Radio every Saturday afternoon at 3, right here on AM 560, brought to you by Pierre Shale Financial Group.
Advisor services offered through Pierre Shale Financial Group Incorporated. Pierre Shale Financial Group Incorporated is a registered independent investment advisor.
Balance of Nature, changing the world one life at a time.
I retired 3 years ago, and I've been hearing your ads on the radio for years. And finally, when I moved, I went through this flurry of activity, and all of a sudden, after a couple months after the painting was done and the unpacking and the putting away and everything, because I moved to a different state, and I said, you know what? I'm going to get some of that and try it. I'm telling you, it was like I was a whole new person. I could have given a 3-year-old a run for his money.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Donald Trump warned America. The U.S. dollar is under attack, and it's becoming less and less valuable by the day. Hyperinflation and speculation is killing your retirement. Don't leave your money sitting in cash. It's time you diversified and protected your future with physical precious metals. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000 and get your free digital dollar survival kit and learn how you could get up to $1,000 in free silver today. Call Advantage Gold now at 800-900-8000 to get your free digital dollar survival kit, and you may qualify for $1,000 in free silver. Advantage Gold is the #1 rated gold and silver company in America. Your future is precious. Protect it today when you call Advantage Gold. Call 800-900-8000 now.
Advantage Gold is not an investment advisor or a tax advisor. Check with your financial advisor before investing.
That's 800-900-8000.
Hi, it's Randy Donnelly from Donnelly Auctions in Union, Illinois, and I want to talk to you about your unused basement rec rooms. We all had them back in the 60s and 70s with jukeboxes, pinballs, and slot machines, Coca-Cola signs, and even gas pumps. We all had a great time in those days, but fast forward, and I'll bet you haven't gone down there in years. That's where I can help by turning those items into cash through Donnelly Auctions. We have thousands of customers online eager to bid on your items, and it's easier than you might think. Just give me a call at 815-923-7000, and I'll make those items fit in your wallet. Look us up online at DonnellyAuctions.com to see all of the items that we can sell for you. Give me a call today at 815-923-7000. And don't forget to check out the Donnelly Auctions Hour, Saturdays at 1 o'clock on AM 560. Subscribe and check out the podcast too. I'm Randy Donnelly, and I'll see you at the auction.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:08, wisdom from the most miserable city in America. No, not Chicago. 8:08.
Who's more miserable than us? I can't wait to find out. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
2 killed and 2 wounded in a West Side shooting, including a young 7-year-old. Couple killed in a McHenry boat crash. 3 are wounded in a shooting at an East Chicago car show. A 13-year-old boy being shot on the near West Side being investigated by Chicago police. A man riding a scooter is killed in a Logan Square hit and run. 104-year-old Chicago woman sets the record for the world's oldest skydiver. Bears suffer a loss to the Broncos. Cubs miss out on the postseason and lose their finale. White Sox fall to the Padres in extras. WIND Chicago News Time, 8 o'clock.
He will survive. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what House Speaker Kevin McCarthy predicts as some of his fellow Republicans push to remove him from that job this week. But McCarthy just told Fox,
"Don't judge the GOP by Matt Gaetz."
He says the congressman has a personal vendetta against him, but Gaetz says it was McCarthy using Democrats to pass a short-term funding bill Saturday to avert a government shutdown Sunday, as the bill had no spending cuts the conservatives wanted. And Gaetz told ABC's This Week,
"I don't think the adult in the room would allow America to sit atop a $33 trillion debt facing $2.2 trillion annual deficits."
Former President Trump will go to court today in New York, not in one of his 4 criminal cases, for a civil trial, after a judge already ruled that he and the Trump Organization committed fraud. The state's Democratic Attorney General Letitia James wants a $250 million penalty, saying in a statement this morning Donald Trump falsely inflated his net worth to enrich himself and cheat the system, and the rule of law must equally apply to everyone. Now, the former president on social media called for James and the judge to resign, saying this is election interference, after telling supporters at a rally in Iowa Sunday,
"They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they're not after me, they're after you, but I just happen to be standing in their way, and I will always be in their way."
Now that it's October, millions of Americans with federal student loans have to make payments again after a 3-year COVID pause, as the Biden administration tries again to help some.
The Biden administration is planning to focus on 5 groups for new debt relief. They include those whose debt balance is higher than what they originally owed and those struggling with financial problems.
As Fox's Ryan Schmelz, 2 scientists at the University of Pennsylvania are sharing the Nobel Prize for Medicine for their work battling COVID. Catalin Carico and Drew Weissman helped develop mRNA technology used to make COVID vaccines. America's listening to Fox.
Sunshine, 64 degrees at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. 2 are dead, 2 others wounded, including a 7-year-old boy, following a shooting on Chicago's West Side. No arrests have been made. Authorities continue investigating a deadly boat crash in McHenry. It happened Saturday when a boat swerved off the Fox River and slammed into a home. 61-year-old woman from McHenry was pronounced dead at the scene. A 62-year-old man from McHenry airlifted to a nearby hospital and later died. Authorities resuming their investigation into a Central Illinois truck crash on Sunday that killed 5 and injured 7 others on Friday night.
Yesterday, NTSB launched a team to investigate the Friday evening crash involving a semi-truck trailer in combination with a cargo tank semi-trailer. The crash resulted in both fatalities and serious injuries.
The NTSB's Tom Chapman says autopsies for the victims are scheduled today. Police say 2 were injured and a small child suffered a graze wound after a shooting in East Chicago at a car show on Sunday. 2 are in custody. The Bears remain winless after blowing a 21-point lead in a 31-28 loss to Denver at Soldier Field. Final games on the baseball field for the regular season. Cubs end their season with a 4-0 loss to the Brew Crew. White Sox done after a 2-1 11-inning loss to San Diego. The news service of MyPillow's 6-pack bath towel sets. They're back in stock. Extremely absorbent, yet you get that soft feel you look for in a towel. For a limited time, 50% savings with promo code LIBERTY. 8:04, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now, the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Tesla has launched a new version of its Model Y SUV in China. The update includes a new wheel design, though Tesla still has not started producing its Cybertruck. CEO Elon Musk suggested this spring the truck would arrive in the third quarter, but that quarter ended on Saturday. The UAW and Mack Trucks have a new tentative agreement averting a strike this morning. Another strike would have cut into the union strike fund. Walgreens is being sued by Cooler Screens, a company that sells advertising space on refrigerator doors. The company says Walgreens didn't live up to its agreement to roll out the screens nationwide, and it says Walgreens demanded the screens be removed. But Walgreens says the screens did not work properly. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
8:05, a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher sees an attack on free speech.
What I'm not too clear on is when the door got cracked open, where today the government is criminalizing speech to such an extent that they want to lock up the 45th president of the United States. It's insane to witness the absolute destruction of speech in this country.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Tony Dreyfus, founder and president of Metropolis Coffee Company and a proud new customer of Signature Bank. We're a 19-year-old specialty coffee roaster located in the heart of Chicago. Some of your favorite restaurants and cafes serve our coffee. As a small business manufacturer, we understand the importance of working with the right bank, and that's why we made the move to Signature Bank. We were tired of the impersonal service that our large bank had provided. A friend referred us to Signature Bank, and their team was on site to understand our operations firsthand. They provided us the working capital to continue our successful business operations and to fuel our ambitions for innovation and growth. We now have the flexibility to grow at our own pace. That personal touch, you can't find that at a large bank, but we found it at Signature, and we can't thank them enough.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Balance of Nature, changing the world one life at a time.
I retired 3 years ago, and I've been hearing your ads on the radio for years. And finally, when I moved, I went through this flurry of activity, and all of a sudden, after a couple months after the painting was done and the unpacking and the putting away and everything, because I moved to a different state, and I said, you know what? I'm going to get some of that and try it. I'm telling you, it was like I was a whole new person. I could have given a 3-year-old a run for his money.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
All right, Christmas will be here before we know it. If you're looking for a really special gift, I encourage you to check out the firearms made right here in America by our great friends at Henry Repeating Arms. Now, you start by going to their website, henryusa.com, order their free holiday gift guide, and they'll mail it with free decals that you can use for stocking stuffers. Perfect timing. Folks, when you give someone a Henry, you're giving them a work of art that is built with the finest craftsmanship I've ever seen as a collector. Now, their performance is top-notch. Mine were accurate, all of them, right out of the box. They shoot smooth and straight, and they have been reliable ever since. They have over 200 models of rifles and shotguns and revolvers to choose from. One of the things I like the most about these firearms, they're family heirlooms. They'll always be backed by the company's lifetime warranty. So if you want to put something that's made in America under the tree this Christmas, henryusa.com. Get their free gift guide and their decals today. That's henryusa.com. You will love this company.
It's 8:08, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Inbound Kennedy. Right now it's an hour 20 from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike right now is at hour 11 from 390 into the old post office. Stevenson, manageable 51 right now, 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. 47 heavy minutes on the Dan Ryan inbound, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Andy Robb.
Bright sunshine today, high 85. Tonight, clear, low 63. Mostly sunny for Tuesday. The high for tomorrow, 86. Tomorrow night, low 68. Wednesday, clouds and sun, high 83. I'm Andy Robb on AM 560, The Answer.
67 at O'Hare, 68 Lakefront. Next news at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by ServPro, the #1 choice in cleanup and restoration. Visit servpro.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Wisdom from America's most miserable city. That's not my characterization. That's the characterization of a documentarian named Peter Santinello of Gary, Indiana. Gary, Indiana, with the...
Used to be a juggernaut back in the day.
Oh, sure, the Gary Works Steel Mill, largest in the country.
Yep.
Gary, Indiana is also the city now with the lowest life expectancy. And Santinello, in his documentary, it was posted a few weeks back. It's a short one. It's like 40 minutes, sort of, YouTube-style documentary. But he does do some interesting interviews. Man on the Street gets about town a little bit. And it was useful to hear, actually, from people who moved from the south side of Chicago to Gary.
Really?
Because the south side was too crazy. Which is a real commentary in and of itself. He talked to one woman outside of this adult day services facility. Some of the residents were there. She was a worker there, and some other colleagues of hers. And she was talking about, growing up in Chicago by way of Mississippi, and then in 1982, she moved from Chicago, from the south side, to Gary, Indiana. And her perspective, as I think a woman who came of age in the 60s, on what was happening then, even when she got to Gary, when she was growing up,
right,
when she got to Gary ultimately, and today. I thought it was pretty interesting, pretty useful for consideration. Here's what she said about that journey.
Like when I was coming up in the 60s, everybody looked out for you. If you did something wrong, your neighbor would tear your butt up, and then they'll tell your parents will tear your butt up. We had morals, we had ethics, we had respect for our elders.
Even when there was crime?
Even when it wasn't that much crime. If it was crime, it was outside of our community because they kept it away from us. Moms and dads didn't have guns and stuff laying around so that we could get them. Moms and dads was older.
And the kids?
It starts with the home life,
Start
right?
with the home.
But
Charity
if that-
starts at home and then spread abroad.
Yeah, but if the home life is not there, that's not the kid's fault.
It's
like
not the kid's fault.
that's when we need to go in with resources, which aren't. It's not just money either. It's
No.
attention, guidance, discipline.
Because I used to manage a grocery store on Fifth Avenue. When I
Yeah.
moved here in 1982 from Chicago to Gary, I found it that, you know, the kids, they were into like little bad activities, but to show concern and love and I had to prove myself. I'm not scared of you. You know, I am not scared of you.
So you think today some parents are scared of their 12-year-olds?
Yeah, they scared of.
Really?
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, because they mix with the wrong crowd. You don't know what these little kids are carrying now. You know what I'm saying? I used to tell the kids, pull up your pants. You don't walk around with your pants up like that. Now they'll curse your butt right out. And might pull out a gun. When I moved here in 1982, there was no drugs.
82, no drugs here.
No drugs here.
Yeah.
They were still, if it was, we didn't see it, they were still sleeping with their doors open.
82 doesn't seem like it's that long ago. I know it's 40 years, but 82, no drugs. I mean, her perspective on it. Of course, there's always drugs around, but I mean, not what it is today or more recently. No drugs. People still left their doors open, like when I grew up in Wheaton.
Right.
Or you grew up in Mount Prospect.
Right. You'd leave your door open.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. It's always interesting to hear from people who have this historical perspective on a community that has been decimated, like Gary, Indiana, because they give you the layers to the problem in a way that you don't get from politicians. Something about Gary, though, too, sort of a case study in this other problem we've known a lot about for a long time. And the woman you heard from brought it up. But we just can't seem to find our way to elect people that are willing to make the arguments that change minds about government. You know, on the one hand, you hear them saying destruction of the family. You hear that woman saying that, and everybody who was there as she was being interviewed was agreeing with her. And remember, she talked about, neighbors would whip your butt and this and that, and
right.
you had respect and you were taught ethics. So she's
said
talking
Mr. and Mrs. You don't call them by their first name like your neighbors. You never call them, hey, Earl, you'd say Mr. Roberts.
Yeah, and if Mr. Roberts told you to pull your pants up, then you pull your pants up.
You didn't give him any lip.
So, so she's talking about family, but at the same time, it can't. People can't. Some people, a lot of people, can't break that. What's the government going to do about it? Recognizing that you're talking about the culpable party being the restorative party. Do you see how contradictory that is? The government has induced and exacerbated so much of the problems you're describing, and you're saying, well, what's the government going to do about it? And how long have we known this? And who's known this? Eli Steele, our friend Eli Steele, Shelby's son, documentarian in his own right, he found this clip, and he posted over at his Substack. 1973 clip. 1973. 50 years ago. Robert Coles, who was a well-known psychologist, Harvard faculty, standing in front of a housing project in Atlanta, talking about the welfare state. 1973. Respected Harvard psychology faculty member, Robert Coles.
The welfare system helps the disintegration of the American family. It offers money to families if the fathers will leave them and stay away, in that sense undoing the very stability of the family and taking away one of the two parents that children, of course, need. And what I have seen, I'm afraid to say, all over the country is that the legal system works against the best kind of home for these children. We don't encourage parents to be at home with the children. We don't encourage mothers to feel that they can find their destiny as mothers. We take away, in many of the most vulnerable homes, fathers from those homes. We herd foster children together in institutions rather than trying to find decent homes for them. We don't tap the resources we have in communities and with respect to older people so that they can help out vulnerable homes. We don't sanction and encourage and support in every way, morally, psychologically, and financially, the dignity and integrity of the home. And in the worst of it is that the homes that are most vulnerable are the homes that are least supported by the policies of local, state, and federal governments. And no wonder then, out of these more vulnerable neighborhoods, we get an endless cycle of troubled, delinquent, wayward youth who grow up even more and become the lawbreakers of our society. Now, I don't know how you break this cycle except by starting out with young children.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You can also reach us on the text line, 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
And in 50 years, what have we done with the advice and counsel of Robert Coles and so many others? We said, I see what you're saying, so we're going to scale the government programs that provide all of these perverse incentives and generate this cycle of doom that he's talking about. 50 years, people have known. We've known. We can't bring ourselves to change course. Isn't it amazing? I mean, what you heard from Robert Coles in 1973, you could say the same thing today. I mean, exactly the same thing. The only difference is it's exponentially worse in 2023 than it was in 73 by the numbers. Eli Steele on Robert Coles' observations there. He writes, I do have one personal observation. In nearly every video I viewed from the 1960s and 70s, a significant amount of the blame for the creation of the black underclass is attributed to welfare and other policies of dependency. Those experts knew the truth. They knew the truth. However, the left has largely refused to take responsibility for their role in destroying too many black families. Instead, today's left tries to divert our eyes from their failures by blaming redlining, blockbusting, and white supremacy. They create snake oil remedies like Ebonics and equity as they move further leftward to avoid their day of reckoning. But when one hears the words of Coles, there's no denying that what he says is nothing but the truth. So help me God. Steve in Northwest Indiana.
Yeah, I was born in '59 in Gary. Spent 40 years there. 1982, I was working at Gary Works.
Okay.
This woman kind of conflates things, and the questions and the answers were all kind of mixed up. Nobody in '82 left their doors open, in Gary. She's kind of talking about the neighborhood she grew up in the '60s in Chicago. You know what I mean?
That could be.
And you kind of get mixed up as to whether she's talking about Gary in '82 or her old neighborhood in the '60s. In '67 when Hatcher got elected, Gordon Hatcher, from Michigan City, Indiana. He wasn't even from Gary. That's when things changed. Up until then, it was paradise, especially where I lived in Miller.
Miller Beach?
Yeah. Well, it's Miller. It's not Miller Beach. That's just some yuppie made-up thing.
Oh, well,
that's so funny.
I'm a yuppie I'm a yuppie, so I make up.
Well, that's what the yuppies.
No, but that's what they call it.
That's what they call it.
They're trying to sexy it up a little bit there. Say, move to Gary and buy a $1 million place on Miller Beach that you could buy for $600,000.
Exactly. They're yuppies are trying to. So, anyways.
Well,
it was bad in '82.
Well, so what
I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, I hear you. Like I
said, it wasn't as bad as Chicago in '82. You know what I mean?
Well, but something else you just said. So things changed in '67. So what happened in '67?
Gordon Hatcher, the first black mayor, took over, and the white folks just started leaving in droves because he made it clear that white folks ain't welcome here. I used to me and my mom and my sister used to take the bus from Miller to downtown Gary and go shopping, walk down Broadway, go to the Palace Theater and watch movies. I saw True Grit there, you know. I mean, it was still, even in the late 60s, it wasn't as bad, but it was changing, you know.
Have you been?
Everybody moved to Maryville.
And then in the late 90s, everything burned down. Remember that massive fire and everything was destroyed?
Well, do you go back?
Yeah, I still got friends that still live there. I got a buddy that's got a business there. So, yeah, I go like once or twice a week back.
Well, what's it like now?
Well, I mean, it's terrible.
But Miller's great.
Yeah.
You know?
But
still.
But one of the things that another business owner, a couple of female business owners this guy talked to, said, also from Chicago, they basically said that decided to move here and open a business because it's better here. They actually said tax policy too. I'm like, that's good. That's good. Nice to see entrepreneurs making good cost-benefit decisions. But they also said it's not as bad, sort of public safety-wise, there as in some of the neighborhoods in Chicago. What would you say to that?
Sure.
Yeah.
But see, downtown Gary, you know, Gary proper is pretty much just gutted and burned out, and there's hardly any businesses. And, you know, I mean, Miller is the only good neighborhood in the whole place. And it's, you know, but doesn't have a lot of businesses, but the ones that are established there are doing pretty good. And like I say, a lot of these people came from Illinois, you know.
Right.
And they commute back and forth in you know, Chicago and whatnot. And Miller's still a nice place.
Thanks for the call, Steve. Appreciate it. Nick, Northwest Side.
Yeah, thank you. By the way, I've been listening to your show continuously for many years. You guys know what you're talking about. That's why. I was going to say that man who you had quoted from a comments he made in '73, in '72 when I came back from Germany, it could have been France, could have been England, doesn't matter. But I lived there and worked there for a year and a half, and I noticed that extremes in Chicago, which is typical of any big city in America, especially Democrat-run, the rich, the poor, nice people, dangerous people, and so many different kinds of people. And I made comments that someday this is all going to result in something that will look to the outside world like a revolution or a race war or a civil war, and our skyscrapers may end up becoming our pyramids. Now, I didn't feel it was definitely coming our way, but look at where we're at now in 2023, you know, and all the things in the last few years have been going on. We're in a very dangerous condition here, and that's all I want to say. People got to start sticking together, whether it's Trump or eventually DeSantis or whatever. People got to start sticking together.
Thanks, Nick. Alex Hinsdale.
Good morning, guys. The Professor Cole, that's a great clip. But if you go back to 1965, Representative Moynihan, who worked for had written a report on the Negro family, the case for national thinking. And he was called a racist. He was outraged that 20% of the black families didn't have a father in the home because of welfare. Now that's 75%. The other point I'd like to make is that as long as the lack of fathers in the home and the black females, they're filling the churches, but there's no man in the home. As long as that doesn't happen, and we try to say that crime is even across all groups, we'll never be able to fix it because we know that's not true. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, I mean, another thing, go back, listen to Robert Coles at 73, read that Moynihan report. I mean, when he said the Negro family, that was literally the title of the report, State of the Negro Family. That's what he's referencing. Go back and read Moynihan's report. Absolutely. It's amazing how much additional damage, not how little progress, how much additional damage we've done to ourselves over the last 50 years. Stunning. Verlon, Gary, Indiana.
Well, I've been living in Gary for the past 12 years, and I'm seeing a change. It's a lot of people. Trust me, when I first moved out there, there's burnout houses everywhere. Still a lot of them, but I'm seeing a lot of Latinos coming in, buying property, and they do their own work. They're fixing up houses. Like it was like 5 burnout houses on my block. They're all occupied now. I've seen new businesses, O'Reilly's, AutoZone, even downtown Gary. I've been seeing new apartment complexes pop up. It's even a loft space, a big old building that was burned out. They turned into lofts. So I'm seeing a turnaround. I'm seeing people move in, and when it comes to public safety, it's 100% better than. It doesn't look good. Now, trust me, it doesn't look good around there, but it's 100% better than Chicago. It may be 13 people die a year, maybe 13, and I bet that's because of the Chicago people that still haven't learned their lesson from Chicago. But it's not death count. It's nothing compared to Chicago. So I see the turnaround firsthand in the last decade.
All right, thanks for the call, Verlon.
Yeah.
Frank Palatine.
Good morning, guys. I'll cut to the chase. I built low-income housing in the early 70s in Chicago. Kenwood Apartments was one of them, right there off the drive. And at that time, HUD, that stupid group, they created a trap for the residents. If you made $5, $50 more a month, you got kicked out of the housing. The housing was 25% less than you would pay for a normal apartment in the hood. So if a guy wanted to better himself and get a raise, he got kicked out. If he worked overtime, he got kicked out. So what happened? The black male quit taking the overtime, the pay raises, because he couldn't afford it. I don't know, maybe it was 25 years later they finally woke up, the communists in D.C., and they did a grading scale. So if you got a 10% raise, you paid 10% more. 15%. They didn't just throw you out in the street, which is what your government did to the male back in the early 70s.
Thanks for the call, Frank.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Hi, folks. Dennis Prager here. You've probably been hearing my colleagues and me talking about investing with YRefi for a while now. You may have some questions, so let's review. It's true. You can earn up to a 10.25% fixed rate of return that is not correlated to the stock market or the Fed. You can turn your income on or off, compound it, whatever you choose, and there are absolutely no fees. There is no attack on principal if you ever need your money back, and you'll get your monthly statement with no surprises. Just go to investYRefi.com. That's invest, the letter Y, then refi, REFY.com. Or call 888-YRefi24. Folks, this is a solid investment that actually helps people. Just go to investYRefi.com or call 888-YRefi24 and tell them Dennis Prager sent you.
Do you really want to take shots the rest of your life just to lose weight? NJ Diet's typical results are twice as fast as weight loss injections without any of the side effects. Plus, you learn proper portion control and develop healthy eating habits. With NJ Diet's 40-day program, you'll lose 20 to 40-plus pounds, contractually guaranteed. Lose weight quickly the healthy and natural way with NJ Diet. Locations in Skokie and Oak Brook. Call 855-5NJ-DIET or schedule your consult today at njdiet.com. That's njdiet.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:38, R. Emmett Terrell, founder of the American Spectator, he has a new book and a plan for the trans when it comes to sports at 8:38.
Oh, can't wait. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
The House of Representatives passed a short-term government funding bill over the weekend to avert a government shutdown, partially just hours before the deadline. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy on Fox this morning tells us what's next.
We did have a win in being able to get government keeping it open, making sure that Ukraine was not in it. We got disaster taken care of. Now we've got 47 days to get this done.
Some conservative lawmakers didn't want the short-term extension, instead calling for the House to continue passing its own appropriation bills that would further cut government spending. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is recalling more than 3 million Hyundai and Kia models. NHTSA issued the recalls for more than 1.7 million Kias and 1.6 million Hyundais because of issues that could start a fire. 40 million Americans are resuming their student loan payments. Payments officially went back into effect Sunday after a 3-year pause. Apple is working to fix overheating issues on its new iPhone 15. The newest iPhone variation was out for less than a week before users began reporting their cell phones overheating when being used for basic functions. A zero bail policy is now in effect in Los Angeles County. As of Sunday, people arrested for nonviolent or what are being termed non-serious crimes will be cited and released in situations where they would have been kept in jail on bond. 2 are dead, 2 others are wounded, including a 7-year-old boy following a shooting on the west side in the first block of South Whipple yesterday. A child wounded suffered a graze wound to the head. No arrests have been made. Chicago police are searching for a driver involved in a deadly hit and run in Logan Square. It happened yesterday in the 3900 block of West Fullerton. The victim pronounced dead at the scene. The driver did not stop. 2 were injured. A small child suffered a graze wound in a shooting in East Chicago on Sunday. According to police, it happened at a car show. Police were trying to break up a fight when at least 2 shooters opened fire. 2 are now in custody. The Bears remain winless after blowing a 21-point lead in a 31-28 loss to Denver at Soldier Field. Baseball over for the regular season. Cubs end their season with a 4-0 loss to the Brew Crew, while the White Sox lost to San Diego 2-1. The news, a service of MyPillow's 6-pack bath towel sets. They're back in stock. Proprietary technology makes them extremely absorbent, yet you get that wonderful soft feel. For a limited time, 50% savings with promo code LIBERTY. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk doesn't mince words.
Speaker Kevin McCarthy has announced that it is time to proceed on an impeachment inquiry into Joe Biden. Now, the position on this program is very clear. Joe Biden is a traitor to the United States. Joe Biden has sold out the country. Joe Biden has lied repeatedly. Joe Biden is still compromised by the business dealing that he has done previously.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature, changing the world one life at a time.
I retired 3 years ago, and I've been hearing your ads on the radio for years. And finally, when I moved, I went through this flurry of activity, and all of a sudden, after a couple months after the painting was done and the unpacking and the putting away and everything, because I moved to a different state, and I said, you know what? I'm going to get some of that and try it. I'm telling you, it was like I was a whole new person. I could have given a 3-year-old a run for his money.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Is life sciences your lifetime passion? If so, you could have the career of a lifetime. Automated Systems is searching for you. If you have experience in any of the following areas: industrial automation, PLC, HMI programming, equipment, facility, process, or packaging engineering, commissioning, validation, project management, tech transfer, quality assurance, FDA compliance and auditing, you'll love any of these positions. Understanding the pharmaceutical and medical device industry trends and regulatory requirements is essential. Automated Systems is hungry for people with analytical and problem-solving skills. Automated Systems also promotes work-life balance with flexible work arrangements and competitive benefits so your career can soar while you're enjoying a fulfilling personal life. Don't miss this chance to make a difference and do what you do best. Go to HireASI.com now That's hireasi.com to explore an incredible career with Automated Systems Incorporated.
Lots of channels, nothing to watch, especially if you're looking outside of big corporate control. It's time to interrupt your regularly scheduled programs with something worth watching. The new Salem News Channel. Straightforward, unfiltered, in-depth insight and analysis from the greatest collection of conservative minds, all in one place. SNC is home to Dennis Prager, Mike Gallagher, Sebastian Gorka, and more. Watch anytime on any screen, free 24/7. Find what you're looking for at snc.tv.
Have you lost Illinois Medicaid? At healthcare.gov, you can find a low-cost, quality health plan.
Do plans cover doctor visits?
What about emergency care?
And prescriptions?
All covered and more. Plus, with the new law, 4 out of 5 customers can find a plan for $10 or less per month with financial help. Healthcare.gov is here for you. Enroll today for coverage starting the 1st of next month. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
This hourly segment brought to you by Unleash Your Wealth with Raj Shah and Rick Borick this Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. Learn more at scwealthadvisors.com.
8:39, quick check of the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of your Amazon Fresh store. As a Prime member, you'll save 10% on hundreds of items in store, from organic produce to pantry staples to handcrafted pizza. Head to Amazon.com/fresh locations and find a store near you. Eden's 21 in, Lake Cook Road to the junction. The Kennedy dropping to 69 minutes from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Earlier, car fire on the inbound Dan Ryan is being pulled out of your way between Garfield and the Stevenson. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast, sunny, 85 today, and cooler lakeside. 67 right now. Next news at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. R. Emmett Terrell, the title of his book, How Do We Get Out of Here? How do we get out of here? Where's here? Where are we at? Well, here's an indication of where we're at. U.S. News and World Report out with its 2024 edition of Best Colleges. Number one in the nation, the number one college in the nation, according to U.S. News and World Report. This is what a lot of
Georgia
people
Tech.
look at in terms of status.
It's not Georgia Tech?
It's not. The Princeton Tigers.
Of course.
Princeton Tigers.
They
Ivy
pay
League.
for that.
Sure. Princeton, the number one university in America, according to Best College in America, according to U.S. News and World Report. It's also the college that features this. A new drag university program launched at Princeton University will train students in the art form of drag.
Next thing you know, it's going to be an Olympic event. Trust me.
So Princeton is, whereas Northwestern, top 10, is Sex Toy University, Princeton now promotes itself as Drag U. The program is offered through the school's Gender and Sexuality Resource Center. And enrolled participants will cover an array of topics, including history of drag, sewing 101, got to make your costumes, choreography, face painting, photo shoots, and other topics. The first 6 enrollees who attended the September 19th orientation and commit to the program will receive scholarships to fully cover the cost of supplies. Yes, the downtrodden otherwise attending Princeton. This is one of the institutions that's going to protect and advance Western civilization into the coming century and beyond, right? That's what we're to believe. At least they sort of concede by the nature of this course description, programmatic description, that this is so much performative. How do we get out of here?
Help.
Please. Give me the map. I want to go. R. Emmett Terrell,
Corn maze.
founder of the American Spectator, his book, How Do We Get Out of Here? Half a Century of Laughter and Mayhem at the American Spectator, from Bobby Kennedy to Donald J. Trump. R. Emmett Terrell, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Glad to be here.
But by the way, I should hasten to add, R. Emmett Terrell, Fenwick High School grad.
Oh.
Yeah, Fenwick High School grad, Oak Park
Did you know
native.
Governor Quinn?
So how do we get out of here? Where is it from which you want to escape?
Well, we wanted to. I was at Indiana University on a stage with Bob Kennedy. I was behind the curtains. Bob was in front of the curtains. He gave another stem winder of a speech, and suddenly he burst through the curtains and said, "How do we get out of here?" That was in 1968, and I've kept that title for all these years because I thought someday I'll have to use that title, and it turns out to be a great title for a memoir, and so that's what that's the history of the title. But the title has served me very well for all these 55 years.
And how does it parlay into current culture?
I don't think Bob Kennedy would have. I think he'd be dizzy by taking a look at the culture today. Another person I mentioned in this book is Ronald Reagan, and he and I worked together throughout the 80s on trying to change the culture. He was alarmed at the culture, and as a result, we did many things together. And at the end of his career as president of the United States, he came to dinner at my house and had 250 security people surrounding the house, but they were all trustworthy, I'm sure.
And so, from Reagan to present, what's happened?
It's not hard to say what's happened, really. We brought in really inferior presidents. We brought in Donald Trump. He showed promise, but Bill Clinton screwed the pooch, as Tom Wolfe used to say. He started the decline of the American presidency, and it's declined ever since.
Is the decline in of the American presidency, even just in the last 30 years, Clinton to president? I mean, it's sort of a chicken and egg. Is that being driven by our political leaders, or is it being driven from the bottom up, and the political leaders are just reflective of that decay?
It's from the top down. Jimmy Carter started the operation, and from there on, we had good news, Ronald Reagan, good news, George H.W. Bush, and those are people that I worked with and I talk about in this book. And then there, of course, were lesser people like Barack Obama.
Well, so when you think about where we are, what would you recommend in terms of where conservatives should focus their attention and energies? Is it a particular institution? Is it a particular office? Where should we devote our energies if we want to turn this around?
Well, we've got 2024, and that's a good place to start. Any one of those candidates, the Republican candidates, would be better than what we have right now. And Donald Trump he was a very fine president for a while, but he took too many punches. If he can win this next election, he's got to turn it around. He's got to support intelligence and soar above these people that keep clouding him.
Yeah.
Ronald Reagan never fooled around with such nonsense. He always soared above the opponent. Pardon me?
Yeah, that comparison or contrast between Trump and Reagan is often made, and the response you get, of course, is, well, a man for their times. Reagan was a man for his times, and Trump is a man for his times, different times, and you need somebody that's more combative, even excessively so. What do you say to that?
Well, in my book, I talk about Donald. I was with Donald in the early days. I was a big, staunch supporter of Donald, but I saw how he changed, and he's got to get back on track. He can do it, but he's got to get back on track, and he's got to devote himself to the politics of the present moment, not to past slights that he's received from the Democrats or even from the Republicans.
Well, how did President Trump change?
He took too many punches. He answered every swat at him. He answered with a punch right back, and that's not the thing to do. When I was with Ronald Reagan, he made it very clear he wasn't going to answer the attacks on him. Remember how they called him stupid? They called him stupid even as he won the Cold War, even as he lowered taxes. But he didn't play their game. He never fell for the constant punching back and forth. Donald has, and that's how he changed. When I knew him, he was a very gregarious, friendly, folksy guy, and you should check out his speeches. But he collapsed, and in turn, he got involved in nothing but fist fights for the last year in office, and it was a mistake on his part, and it's changed his personality. If he can get back on track, it'll be a good thing. If not, there's a lot of Republicans out there that are looking for a chance to run against the Democrats, and I think any one of those people that you saw last week could do better than the Democrats.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, Trump is obviously in the pole position right now, in part because of the unprecedented number of times he's been indicted. I mean, here's what Trump in California had to say. He was speaking at the California Republican Convention about the number of times he's been indicted, and really this is the in part a lot of the basis of the standing and the enthusiasm for Trump right now. Take a listen.
They indicted me, and then again and again and again. I was never indicted. Now I'm setting records. Al Capone was not indicted so much. Alphonse Capone. If you looked at Al Capone in the wrong way, he'd kill you. He was not indicted like me. I was never indicted.
I mean, he's being glib and he's sort of ridiculing this, but that's where people are. They think that the justice system is increasingly a joke, which is not a happy occurrence. That's a real danger to a free society. But I mean, how do you react to that? The situation we're in right now, vis-a-vis the precedent the Democrats set with these politicized indictments.
Well, I think you saw the basic humor of the man right there in that clip. He's a very funny guy, but he's got to move beyond that. We don't elect presidents because they make us laugh. We elect presidents to do things, and the things he did in his first term were astounding. Now he needs to take a stronger stand on the issues at hand. One is our border. He's had his hand on the border, had his handle on the border in his first term. He should now finish it off. There's more for him to do, and if he get onto that track, he'd be on a better track.
He is R. Emmett Terrell. He's the founder of the American Spectator. His new book, How Do We Get Out of Here? Half a Century of Laughter and Mayhem at the American Spectator, from Bobby Kennedy to Donald J. Trump. R. Emmett Terrell, thanks so much for joining us. Good to talk to you again, and best of luck with the book.
Good to be with you.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day
then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
A storm is on the horizon, and you need to keep the lights on no matter what. Your business relies on the power being on 24/7. It's the lifeblood of your data and computer systems. Weather-related outages from the power company are not acceptable. Your need for a source of power that's reliable 24/7, along with round-the-clock service that can dispatch technicians to your site immediately, is mission critical. Your business needs Charles Equipment Energy Systems on speed dial. These are the big boys, not residential or solar, but reliable industrial generators for emergency backup or events. When you need more than a 100-foot extension cord plugged into a small engine generator, call Charles Equipment Energy Systems. They keep the lights on with rental generators for job sites or power outages. A storm is on the horizon. Plan ahead. Call now to prepare generators for storms and potential power outages. Call 630-834-6000, 630-834-6000, or charlesequipment.com.
Dan Proft here for Northridge Prep. Northridge Prep, great place to be a boy. What does that mean exactly? In short, it's thanks to a foundation of an all-boys environment that builds your son up into a man of intellect and character who loves God. The teachers and faculty members become mentors to students. And when you combine that with an atmosphere that's fun, competitive, and challenging, it creates an exceptional experience for your son. The result is the boys love Northridge Prep. They've been educating boys for nearly 50 years, and one of the things that stands out is their commitment to partnering with parents. You hear this a lot with schools, but at Northridge, it's real. Parents can't stop talking about it. They built a real community that works together. Raising kids is difficult, and at Northridge, you can be confident your son is on the right path and that your values are being reflected at school. They're having an open house on Sunday, October 22nd, for boys grades 6 through 12. You can register today at northridgeprep.org. Again, that open house is Sunday, October 22nd. Register at northridgeprep.org.
Looking to give your home a one-of-a-kind makeover? It's time to think outside the box with Forever Remodeling. We're highly skilled to design and build kitchens, bathrooms, and basements using state-of-the-art 3D design software, customer communication software, and a dedicated project manager throughout your project. With Forever Remodeling, imagine a kitchen that's an extension of your personality, a bathroom that's a spa-like sanctuary, and a basement that's a canvas for your dreams. Reach out to us at 847-809-3355 or visit foreverremodeling.com.
Now, you know a company is looking out for you when they actually upgrade your service and then don't charge you for it. This is great news for new and current Pure Talk customers. Pure Talk just added data to every single plan, and they're now including mobile hotspot with every plan and no price increase at all whatsoever. Now, if you've not made the switch yet to Pure Talk, now is the time. For $20 a month, you're going to get unlimited talk, unlimited text, and 50% more 5G data and mobile hotspot, and it's only $20 a month. Now, this is why I love Pure Talk. They use the same cell towers. They use the same exact 5G network as the big carriers, and the average family saves close to $1,000 a year from this veteran-owned company with a customer service team that will make your switch fast, simple, and easy. Just dial pound 250. Say the keyword save now. Do it now. You save an additional 50% off your first month. Pound 250, keyword save now from Pure Talk, and you won't regret it.
Balance of Nature, changing the world one life at a time.
I retired 3 years ago, and I've been hearing your ads on the radio for years. And finally, when I moved, I went through this flurry of activity, and all of a sudden, after a couple months after the painting was done and the unpacking and the putting away and everything, because I moved to a different state, and I said, you know what? I'm going to get some of that and try it. I'm telling you, it was like I was a whole new person. I could have given a 3-year-old a run for his money.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, another bite from Trump before the California GOP at their convention. He went down the line of all the California Pauls, insulting each in turn, which was kind of fun.
Oh, boy.
Now, after this, I was like, now do Illinois. But we don't have enough politicians that are even relevant. Maybe Pritzker.
Stand up to crazy Nancy Pelosi who ruined San Francisco. How's her husband doing, by the way? Anybody know? And she's against building a wall at our border, even though she has a wall around her house, which obviously didn't do a very good job. But then you have Kamala Harris. She's great. Gavin Newsom, who's a really... I mean, I watched him the other night with Sean Hannity trying to say that California is wonderful. It's not wonderful. We all know it. It was wonderful. It could be wonderful again, but right now it's really a mess. Maxine Waters, very nice woman, very, very. How come she can say things so violently? You will go in and attack them in a restaurant. You'll do this, that. Nothing happens. If I say peacefully and patriotically, oh, there's an insurrection going on here. Maxine Waters, if I ever spoke like her, it would be the electric chair times 15 for me. The man who fell in love with a Chinese spy.
She was good looking.
That they wouldn't take off their top committee, most important committee, Eric Swalwell. What a loser. And then you have, of course, my favorite, Shifty Adam Schiff, Pencil Neck. He's known for one thing, the world's smallest neck. You ever see? I call him Pencil Neck.
Yeah, I mean, it's it'd be great just to go through down the pantheon of Dems state by state, wherever he is. I just like to hear the riffing on it, the bits, have a little fun with the other side. That was good.
Stand-up comedian.
I like
All
it.
right. Thanks so much to Justin Kosick. The countdown to his marriage is on, and I'm still trying to talk Dan into going to the wedding. And thanks to, what's his name? Yeah, Quinn McCarthy, that guy. And thanks to you. We're back here bright and early tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Now into the newsroom we go. Here's Mike Scott.
3 wounded in a shooting at an East Chicago car show. Chicago man wanted for sexual assault arrested in Oregon. Bears suffer a heartbreaking loss to the Broncos. Cubs miss the postseason and lose in their finale.